Medical units stand by. 30 seconds to contact. 20 seconds. 15. 10. 5. 4. 3. 2. 1.
We got him. Let's go.
Good evening, art aficionados and comic book connoisseurs, to another episode of Proof of Comics. This is episode 51. I'm your host, Frederic Guimont, and tonight we have a special guest in the name of Chris Fisk. But before I introduce him, let me introduce my crew, my homeboys, my co-hosts, starting with a man I like to call...
A man that I call Bob.
Couple.
How you doing, Billy?
Tired.
Damn. We're gonna get. We need to get you some coffee, something.
And Kickstarters is gay.
Yeah, well, tell me something else. Luckily, our tonight's campaign is on Indiegogo, so we're safe from that. Mark's safe from Kickstarter tonight. We are also joined by Frequency Studios, also known as Wrangler.
A whole lot of hola. What's going on, guys?
Hey, how you doing, Wrangler?
Doing all right. You know, I know I'm on the stream, but I just clicked over and I saw the thumbnail for this stream. And I'll tell you what, that artwork on there grabs me. I'm already curious as to what this is.
Right. I think our host, our guest tonight, knows something about marketing. You know, like hot, sexy elves on the first page.
That's what I did wrong.
That's a man after my wallet, I'll tell you that. But before we get into your campaign, Chris, I want to update people on another thing that's been on the thumbnail. I have some art in Vegas right now at the Bitcoin conference. And wanted to show you a little clip of that. I got somebody who sent me a video. First of all, let's have a look at the overall floor at the Vegas Bitcoin conference right now, happening in Las Vegas.
Making a circle around you guys.
A lot of memes, a lot of Pepes, a lot of Bitcoin references and stuff. A lot of pop art too. And this is just a close-up of my piece here, and then we'll be done with it.
Nice.
That's it. I was at
Under the bright lights of Vegas.
right.
How's that
Oh, we got a first tonight with Corey Barton. Welcome, Corey.
Hey.
How you doing, man? Corey's going to be one of our guests next week, so let me slip that in as well. Next week is our 52nd episode, making it a full year, and we're going to do a little anniversary episode. I've invited Corey, Aaron C. I've invited Patrick Quinlan and B.A. Turner as well. So Omar Glitch too. So should be a fun crew, and we're going to have a blast, I think, talking about comics. And
Yeah, I know those people.
right? We're all friends here. It's a very incestuous crowd.
Yeah.
All right. So, Chris, before we get into your trailer and everything,
Mhm.
I don't even know you. I think a lot of people watching might not be familiar with who you are. Could you give us a little bit of background into who you are, how you got into comics, and how you got around to making your own comic here?
Sure. Long ago, there was a crystal. No, yeah. So back in 1990, I started a tabletop role-playing game at my local library here in New Hampshire because our high school treated us like criminals. They forced us to do 140 hours of community service or we wouldn't graduate. So I went to a library and one of my friends was there and he's like, dude, we're doing a fantasy club. And I was like, oh boy, I'm going to get beaten up doing this, aren't I? And I wasn't particularly a very, what they would say, literate kid. I had severe dyslexia, the whole shebang. And the librarian there introduced me to the Dungeons and Dragons stuff. Like I was getting ready to leave and then she came down. She's like, oh, you came here to stay? And I'm like, oh, hell yeah. So I stuck around and I realized that like a lot of the books were missing because people would take them out or like new editions would come out and we would never get a chance to see them and all this stuff. So I was like, screw it, I'll just start making my own. And that librarian said, you know what, if you stick around here and you keep the kids from crawling the walls and knocking over the shelves and stuff, I'll give you whatever community service hours you need. And I ended up using those kids as guinea pigs to beta test my tabletop role-playing game. And I did that for, yeah. And here's the thing, like nothing will prepare you for harsh criticism like the honesty of an uncaring 8-year-old or 10-year-old actually.
This game sucks.
yeah, it's like, you should be ashamed of you know, like I got the whole shebang. And it kind of forged me and prepared me for my later career in life. But
the internet,
well, I spent 4 years doing that, and then after I got out of high school, I lingered and did it again for about another 8 years, and I went off to university, and you know put aside the role playing game stuff and focused on studies. And then I went into the working world, and again, I was just too exhausted, and it just sat and languished in these like shipping containers. And no, sorry, no, I do not do the art on this. Sorry, Corey. But anyway, so I ended up about, I don't know, after university, about 6.5 years after that, I worked for a newspaper, did pre-press work and all this stuff. Finally,
nice.
I got into
experience in printing already. Yeah.
Oh hell yeah, yeah. We did flexographic, we did offset. Like yeah, I could step into a pre-press role pretty easily, or at least if print. You know, if there's ever anybody that needs help with their books being composed, I've been doing that for a couple of people on here.
Oh wow, I might have to ask you a couple of questions.
Sweet, yeah. Anytime, man. Yeah, I'm happy to help. But so I ended up getting a job in the gaming industry, flew out to California, lived in California, Australia, Japan. And again, the whole time I paid money to ship all of these notes that I had taken about that game, those game sessions. And just rewind a little bit, in order to keep the lights on at the library, the librarian had this idea of, well, Chris, you can draw. Why don't we do like chronicled game sessions, you know, write down like the previous week's adventure or whatever, and you can draw a picture of it. We can make it a newsletter and then charge like $5 a month so that we can use it to basically ensure that the doors stay open on the weekends so that we can do this.
That's a resourceful librarian.
Oh my god, dude, she was absolutely gorgeous. That's why I stuck around. I was like a 12-year-old with like a puppy dog crush on this gorgeous woman. Yeah, so I ended up doing that, and I kept all of the chronicled notes. And one day, I after the gaming industry, you know, I spent 10 years in the video game industry, moving around the world essentially, and it kind of like the industry kind of chews up naive 20-somethings and poops out jaded 40-somethings. So I ended up leaving the industry, and I was kind of depressed for a while because this was around the 2012, 2014. When like, I hate to use the W word, but the woke started like infecting all of my hobbies. And it got real depressing when it was like everything that I enjoyed, every hobby is basically telling me that they don't want me to be, you know, they don't want me as a customer anymore. So I was like, okay, I'm now doing I ended up leveraging my skills that I had in the gaming industry and jumped over to a different career in cybersecurity, which is a hell of a lot more stable, especially this day and age.
Interesting, man. That's because I hung out with a lot of guys who were in cybersecurity. I did visuals for hacker conferences, like starting in 2004, 5, around that time.
Yeah, man.
I did, conferences in New York. I did conferences in Montreal, Quebec, all that stuff.
Oh, nice. Yeah, all about them white hats, man. They're the ones that protect us.
Before you go too much further this story, I got to ask you one question.
Sure.
Is the elf babe modeled after your library teacher?
No. So oddly enough, we had the smoking hot librarian. She had her own elf character, but she didn't play our game. She just sat there and watched us like a mama bear. But we did have an assistant librarian who did join the game, and she was a knockout too. I don't know what was in the water down in Pelham, New Hampshire, but like they had absolutely gorgeous librarians. You know, it was like, what's going on, man? Like, I guess that's one way to entice young boys.
Yeah, I could be there in 2.5 hours.
Yeah, that's where we're gonna do our first meetup, guys.
Well, actually, sadly, I went back after 20-something years, and I wanted to take some photos of to kind of reminisce and be like, this is where Infinitale was born, down in the basement in the children's room of the Pelham Public Library. And unfortunately, they shut it off to the public, and it's now part of the Historical Society. so I couldn't get photos of like all the gorgeous murals of like all the different like Mother Goose and yeah, it was somebody painted the like when
All
you
had
walk
to do
down the
was
stairs.
grandma.
Yeah,
There when you're there.
yeah, but I don't know I wish I wish I took photos. Like I wish I had the technology I have today back then, because I would have just been like, you know, doing a little walkthrough with my iPhone. It would have taken like 5 minutes, you know.
Yeah, we tend not to carry disposable cameras around too often back then.
Yeah, yeah, it's all in our memories now. You know, anything before 2008. Man.
Wow.
But yeah, so you know, I was really depressed. All my hobbies and everything, you know, everything just went to crap, and I was really kind of creatively constipated. You know, I'm working cybersecurity. I'm not doing video game or anything creative anymore. And I was talking to one of my engineering buddies that was over at Blizzard, and I was like, dude, like, you know, we should make a game or something. And he's like, dude, why don't you just release that tabletop role-playing game that you developed like 30 years ago? And we ended up looking on Kickstarter, and I was like, ooh, eesh, that's some tough competition there. Maybe you know, maybe we can kind of do something different to set ourselves, you know, set yourself apart from your product, so that you're not just you know, you won't get just lost in the noise. So, you know, we were talking, and somehow it led to World of Warcraft. And he's like, well, why was there like a pre-established audience for World of Warcraft? Like there were people like right out of the gate, like they were champing at the bit to like get into the world of Azeroth. And the reasoning for that was that there was already so much media and other games and all this stuff before World of Warcraft. So people knew what the world was. This was the first time they actually got down on the ground level. So it was like, you know, you had a bunch of primer, like you had a bunch of hype before the release. And I was like, oh, I could totally do that. I want to make like an animated series. You know, the ideal, was it the idealist, you know, the dreamer wants to, you know, do everything big. So I was like, oh, we could do like an animated series. I could learn Flash and Toon Boom and do all this. And then I was like, oh crap, like it's a lot harder than it sounds. And my health started failing me. I kind of lost use or full use of my hands. So kind of the art days were over. So the next step was, well, why don't you like write a book or something? And I'm like, well, I could write a novel about it, and that would be cool. But like, I don't know. I kind of want to do something a little more accessible. And that was when my engineering buddy's like, dude, just make comics. So I took my screenplay that I had written, the gargantuan epic screenplay that only a dreaming idiot would draft up. And I actually got it kind of looked at by some of the guys down at Project Greenlight down in Boston, you know, Matt Damon and Ben Affleck, like that whole crew. And, you know, the advice they gave me was, yeah, if you're going to ever do this, like you're going to have to do it either animated or reduced scope and all this stuff. And it was good. You know, it was good feedback. It was that reality slap across the face. But I didn't want to compromise it. So that was where the comics came in. And I didn't know the first thing about comics. So I reached out to this guy in California named Zen, who worked for a high concept media properties that kind of teach people how to make comics, essentially, down in LA.
Hold on. You reached out to a guy called Zen?
Yes.
You're just making this up, right? Aren't you, Chris?
No, his name has not been changed for protect. Yeah, no. So Zen looked at my screenplay, and you know, I had like a whole bunch of it, and he's like, yeah, no comic artist will take a look at this. They'll be like, this is crap. You're gonna have to convert this into something that's legible for comic artists. Otherwise, you're gonna get no artist to work for you. So we spent about a year or so going through and converting the script into a comic book legible script. And I realized I had like 10 books worth of stuff. And he's like, you're not going to do this. We're not going to have the Lord of the Rings here. We're going to have to chop it up into multiple books. You know, when Tolkien released the Lord of the Rings, his publishers laughed at him because that thing would have been a tome. So they chopped it up into 3 books. They originally chopped it up, I think, into 5 books, but later they settled on 3. And that's what I was like, okay, fine. We'll go through. We'll take the cleaver and just choppy the script down into you know, manageable books. And first book, the first book was crowdfunded back in 2021. It was 54 pages, full color. And we got to the second book, and you know, I have a bunch of friends that are proofreaders. Actually, let me rephrase that. I have a bunch of proofreaders. You know, F you, Oscar. He's a great guy, but he will not cut like mince words. And he was the first one to kind of sound the alarm. And in my day job, like I said, I'm in cybersecurity. I do user experience, so the majority of my job is taking negative feedback. So I'm paying attention when the proofreader's like, dude, your pacing sucks, like your story, it doesn't have a satisfying end. You're gonna have to do some work here. So I sent him over the rest of the 10 books worth of stuff, and he's like, oh, I like this part. Yeah, maybe we can move this part in there and all that. And then after about a year of futzing around with that,
wait, hold on. You took their advice instead of going online, making a video and calling them out and making fun of them? You missed out on some good content there, Chris. Hard to tell you.
Oh boy, yeah. Oh man. But we ended up, basically finagling the 60 pages into 120 pages, and that was a satisfying end. We got the nice flowing, all the peaks and troughs there, and book 2 is 120 pages. And then I took some feedback again. I should have made videos of that too. But I took some feedback again when I sent out a survey after the fulfillment of the first book, and some of the feedback I sent to the original art team, and they were kind of upset with it. And it was like things like, the art needed some work. We needed to do some stuff here, blah, blah, blah. And one of my friends said, dude, I got some art friends too that would be interested. Maybe they can help you out. And I ended up, here's where I got the hashtag Mad Lad from Bancroft. I have, you heard of variant covers, right? Like, this one's got like a variant cover or whatever. Yeah. Well, I have variant books. So there are 3 editions available on this campaign. There's the standard edition, which was done by the original art team, the alternate art edition. So it's 120 pages as well, full color, but it's done by a completely different art team with their own artistic vision of the story.
Wait, what?
And then I have
You have the book drawn by 2 different art teams?
Yep. Laid out, paneled differently, you name it. Like the script is the same. It's just their artistic vision of it. And then the third is the manga edition. And the manga edition isn't just a mirror, like lazy hack job. Like I went in and literally shifted and reorganized the entire pages and layouts to accommodate manga. Included all the dialogues in English, but all the sound effects are in Japanese.
Wow.
How long did that take?
4 years.
That's doing the book entirely over again.
Were you guys watching me?
You got eyes everywhere, Chris.
Oh.
So you got to listen. You're getting feedback live here. Like Corey, who's an expert in babes, by the way, says you need like 20 more elf babes. We're going to wait while you take notes here. Perhaps an elf babe kingdom full of elf babes?
Well, there is. So in Infinitale Chronicles, the War of the Trees, there is what they call sovereignties, and they're ruled by queens, and it's a matriarchal structure. And that means there's at least 7 elf babes because there's 7 sovereignties. And there's a bunch of elf babe subjects because they live in this strange utopian paradise where they never age or get sick or anything.
So the elf queens are like hot hippie chips.
Well, they're like pretty people with problems. They're like eternally adolescent. They've never, until recently, pregnancy was kind of a what's that? So, yeah.
But then responsibility found them.
Oh, because they live so long because they're elves, right? They live like hundreds of years, I would imagine.
Oh, they're ageless, or at least they thought they were. Immortal by age. And they basically, they never age, never get sick, and they're basically pretty people with problems, bunch of spoiled Californian teenagers,
Damn pretty people with problems. All right, let's.
This cloak is so retro.
Let's have a look here at your trailer, Chris.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah.
Knowledge is like a seed. When sown in fertile minds, it opens doors to new possibilities. Truth, once buried by the ages, is again revealed. The unimaginable becomes demystified. New wonders are discovered that transcend the limitations of previous understanding. However, some doors should never be opened. Our tale continues with the divergent paths of our heroes. As a naive king toils with ancient powers beyond his control, a grieving queen makes a fateful decision that forever changes their world. Infinitales Chronicles, the War of the Trees.
Woohoo!
Nice.
That is quite a commitment. You got to doing that book twice like that, though.
Oh yeah.
That's going the extra mile right there.
Yeah, it's part of an experiment. What I'm trying to see is which has the highest demand of the 3 editions that I'm offering on this campaign, and whichever of the 3 gets the most backing will be the future of the series up to the 10th book.
Ah.
Wait, you have 2 versions, not 3, though, right?
Well, I have the standard edition, which is 120 pages color, the alternate art edition, which is also 120 page color, done by a different team, and then I have the manga edition.
Oh, the manga's the 3rd version of the art as well.
Oh yeah. The manga edition is actually like a good value proposition if you missed out on the first campaign, because the manga edition contains both books 1 and 2.
Oh, in black and white from
Yep.
right to left, all that. Yeah, fully for the weebs out there.
So this net.
You'll be happy. You'll be happy to hear, you weebs.
Oh, that's all right.
All right. Speaking of weebs, I've got a new video clip I want to show you guys here. I found this from not Japan, but South Korea. Have a look.
Oh.
Test your might. Test your might. Test your might. Test your might. Mortal Kombat! Johnny Cage, Scorpion, Sub-Zero, Sonya.
Come Sunday done.
That's awesome.
Yeah, with Raiden is almost like a callback to our Big Trouble in Little China, because he was inspired by one of the villains in there, which is freaking awesome.
Hell yeah.
Corey Barton was having a hard time with the South Koreans here. This
We may have nuked the wrong country.
Oh no! Yeah, is it a little late to say that I have Korean?
Ruin the Mortal Kombat.
Well, you know, instead of writing a fantasy book, you would have been writing a Fallout book.
Written with matchsticks engraved on a charcoal wall.
All right, Corey, I heard you. I won't play it again. See, it's not fun. Can't win them all, I guess. We'll have to Hold on, let me make it up to Corey here. Like, I'm gonna give him something he's gonna enjoy.
I just want to say, out of context, it sounds like the gayest song ever. Just like, oh, like the whole thing.
I mean, it's not gay when it's a girl singing.
Yes.
Yeah, we have cured cancer, ladies and gentlemen. Corey Barton can be a witness to that.
I know, I'm certainly cured.
Oh, we got an otter popped up here. How you doing, Lord Otter?
Hey, friends. How's everybody doing tonight?
Yeah, doing pretty good, man.
Having a
Oh, very
blast.
nice.
Do you know of our friend Chris Fisk over here?
For Infinitale? Or is
Yeah.
this... Okay, I'm terrible with names. Yeah, I see your posts on Twitter quite a bit, honestly. I love the artwork.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, yeah, we've got quite the art team lined up on this one.
Yeah, I'm one of those. So I've been meaning to check out Infinitale for a while, honestly, and it's one of those things where it's like I need to do it. I need to do it because every time I see it, I'm like, that artwork looks really good. It looks right up my alley.
Hell yeah.
Dude, wait till you see the rest, because I'm always like, I don't know why I'm thrilled to show Otter every time there's a map, but like there's a map.
I love maps. What can I
Because-
say?
Because, dude, like
Balls.
every time we have like a sci-fi author, the question is always, do you have a map of the world?
Hold up, we had the perfect clip to play. Fuck.
Oh, you got the.
You want to
got the-
play me hard?
Phrasing? No, I didn't.
Well, then you better nut up.
Phrasing.
Because I've swallowed just about as much as I can take from you.
Hey, phrasing.
Careful when you say you love maps. Just say it.
Listen, that's our word. I'm not giving them our word, okay?
Yeah, we lost the rainbow to him. Now we got to lose that word too.
God damn it.
No question. So you got a really cool map over here.
Oh, thanks,
Chris. How did this come about? How did you make this happen?
Well, it started on a piece of notebook paper, I believe, when I was drafting up the continent of Foytla here on the world of Esparza, the elfin homeworld here. I scanned it in, brought it in through some Photoshop, used some Incarnate, and bam, there we go. That's the map I made.
Oh, straight from the original to digital alteration. That's nice. That's cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man. Geeks have a different method sometimes.
Well, the OG original that even though I had it on a notebook, one of the players, my buddy Chris, he actually printed out, I think it was 24 by 36 poster board paper, and he drew the map in sections. And on one of when we were playing the game at my dad's place, because my parents had divorced and my dad was in this duplex, and he had this room and we would be playing it in there, he filled the entire wall with this map. It was just from ceiling to floor or floor to ceiling, and it was gargantuan.
Nice.
Wow. Awesome. And is this is this a printed map that you can get with the campaign?
Yep. So there is a perk, an add-on perk for a canvas map. I believe it's 16 inches by 20 inches. And it's probably the only time I will ever fold something that you can put on your wall, because I'm a staunch anti-folder.
Yeah.
But this one, the wrinkles come right out, so you don't have to worry about getting those awful creases in your posters.
You could just iron your map, basically.
Yep.
That's why they call it the Iron Age, folks. It's to get the creases out.
Yeah.
Giggity.
You got some really cool other stuff as well. Like this is the first time I see minis in a campaign.
Oh well, yeah. It's not really. Well, I guess it could be a mini. It's about 8 inches tall, and it's a paint kit. It was made out of nylon, and it comes with all the paint accessories and that nice little mixing paint guide. So you got the brushes, the palette, the sealer, and it's pre-primed. So it's ready to be
make a joke.
Yeah, it's already painted. It's painted white.
Pre-primed.
Yeah, I'm just saying. It's kind of weird that there's not a jar add-on.
So let's put it this way: there's a certain amount of dick jokes that come with being on the internet in the first place. You hang out with BillyBobSac, that gets amplified by 2 to 3 orders of magnitude.
He's got a +2 to dick jokes.
You mean a plus 69?
Not exactly a full-on dick joke, but that one was. Yeah.
It was half-mast.
Actually, it was kind of like a nasty, degenerate weed.
It's just the tip.
You know what I'm talking about, Otter?
So you've got a strange creature here that might have phallic kind of connotations.
Yeah, I can't pronounce the Welsh word for it, but it's from Welsh folklore. It's called a water leaper, and it's basically like a winged frog with teeth and a scorpion tail that is extremely venomous.
And it just magically always attacks the sheep. I'm sure that's not a metaphor.
Okay, so these are statuettes. They're not minis. I jumped.
Yeah, that's about 6 inches. Yeah.
It's a large mini, which defies the name mini and renders the name useless and meaningless in this case.
It's a giant dwarf.
I have to edit the video, guys. And this, I particularly like this. I've got a soft spot for cards.
Oh yeah.
This is not just like one card that comes with the package. You've got like wrapped sets of cards, or are the cards random when you order them, or how's this?
So there's 2 series. The first series of cards were released on the first campaign, and I have some in very limited quantities. I'm never going to reprint them. But there's some packs of Series 1 left over, and they're in that nice little foil pack. And what we see here with Series 2 is you get these 10 cards. Just like with Series 1, you get a couple of character bio cards. So on the front, you got the character art, and then you flip it over on the back. It's got like their name pronunciation guide, because Irish and Welsh just obliterate Roman alphabets. And
I need a name pronunciation guide just for my own name in my comic.
Yeah, and then the other ones are just covers. So we see there we've got the basically the interior book 2.5 covers, and yeah, so there's that. And then what we see here, of those 10 cards, there is a chance one of those cards might be in that pack. They're all hollow foil cards, and you might get one of those lucky cards extra. So instead of getting a pack of 10 cards, you'll get a pack of 11 cards. But again, it's not a guarantee. Not all packs have one of these lucky cards.
But you're saying there's a chance.
Yeah. And there's all the artists and stuff. So yeah, and then there's this giant jumbo hollow foil card, little 5x7 one.
Not all the cards are this big though. They're
Nope.
like normal card size. Okay, this one's an exceptional kind of.
Yep, cool. Yeah. In fact, one of the posters, there's like I think it's a 12x18 poster that comes rolled up in a rigid tube instead of folded, because I'm not a fan of folding. It's double-sided. On one side, you've got a painting by Clark O'Clesia, which is that image of Aisling there with the giant hand coming down and the zombies tearing her apart. And then on the back side, it shows every card in the set. So if you're missing out on them, you get to see all the cards that you either have or don't have.
Dude, there's an incredible amount of thought that went behind this. Like you've got a legitimate brand happening here. It's incredibly well done.
Oh, thanks.
Look at this box, dude. This looks like old computer games. The people might not know this, but you used to have to go to the store to buy computer games.
No, get out of here.
You youngster, I tell you, 5,000 years ago.
Back in my day.
Get off my lawn.
Beautiful, beautiful boxes of stuff. Like you got the map here on the backside of the box.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, the interior. So basically what I did was I grabbed those blank store folio boxes with the magnet sealing. It's got the magnetic clasp, and then I printed out some vinyl decals on it and then ironed them in to the plastic so that it sticks pretty well. And then that front cover you can actually pull out, and this store folio comes with a bunch of prints, and you can actually swap out that front cover for one of the other prints that comes with the box, and it will be inside the store folio.
You could put your favorite print and swap them around when you get tired of looking at it.
Yeah.
Nice. Got the digital stuff. It's always good to have copies as well.
Oh yeah. And there's some leftover variant covers from the first campaign. That's book 1, and that's the first printing. The second printing is in the retail edition, which is available on Amazon right now.
Oh, also on Amazon. Oh, and how's that working out? Are you getting a lot of sales? People finding you through Amazon and stuff?
Yeah, I've actually got more sales on Amazon than I got backed on the first campaign, so I'm pretty happy with that.
Oh, that's good, man. And are you sending them? Are you like doing the promo, sending them to Amazon, or they're just finding you through there and you get new?
Yeah, so Amazon has a program called Kindle Direct Publishing, or KDP, and the reason why I went through them is because it's passive income. I don't have to keep an inventory. I don't have to do anything. I just basically upload my PDF to Amazon, and they print it on demand. And then they tell me at the end of the month, hey, you got 6 sales, or hey, you got 12 sales, or something.
Oh, nice.
Sweet.
And is this just your second campaign?
Yes, this is the second.
Wow, man, you've got an incredible, your campaign is very polished. I'll tell you that. Like the amount of stuff you offer is substantially more than we see with most campaigns out there.
Oh, well, hopefully that'll entice some people that more than just comic fans. We get some of the RPG people, some of the tabletop guys.
Right.
People that are into anime, like the Record of Lodos Saga or Dragonlance or any of that stuff.
Because you're offering the game in this, right? It's one of the options. You could buy straight up the role-playing game, if I'm not mistaken.
So the idea is that I currently do not offer the tabletop role-playing game, but I plan to. What I'm using as this comic book series is a historical primer to get people interested or to inform them about the world of the role-playing game. And then after I get these 10 books out, then I publish the role-playing game and allow the players to create their own stories in this universe.
Oh, and you'll have like a lot of artwork ready by then.
Yep.
Role-playing stuff. Wow, man, that's cool. Very cool.
Sweet.
It's I love to see these, especially these projects that are like over a long period of time. And did the story end up being very faithful to your notes, or are you like adding to it today, like giving more flesh to the story to your initial notes? And it's like, in other words, is the story still transforming as you're writing it, or is it a faithful interpretation of what you took down in the notes at the library where you had that beautiful
Yeah, I wanted to maintain kind of stay faithful to the original story. I didn't want to change too much. I mean, there were a few editorial things I did here and there just to make it more coherent, or there's the typical gamer moments that really didn't add to the story, and those were kind of yeeted out. So I'm hoping that the players of the game, when they read this, are like, hey, they're like, you took out the part where I did this.
That's funny.
Sweet. Oh yeah, and so that's the war chest. So I ship when you back $25 or more, or $25 US or more of merchandise, you get it packed in this nice war chest box, and the interior has that full scene that you see blazoned on the cover there by Kevin Sharp and colored by Steve Cannon. And all your stuff will go in there. Like the first campaign, we actually printed out like something that looked closer to the store folio. It was the Book of Dragons, which is that like kind of medievalish tome.
Right.
But yeah,
Where does this passion for packaging and just all that come from? Like, you sound like someone who like studied in marketing more than cybersecurity.
well, yeah, I have a marketing background, but I think it actually stems from like Asia. When I spent my time in Japan, it wasn't so much the gifts you gave; it was how you gave them and how they were received.
Oh,
And yeah, never get in a gift giving war with a Japanese person; you will lose. I have lost several times. But yeah, it's like they have a lot of tradition where like you never receive or give something with one hand. It's considered rude. You always give it with two hands or take it with two hands.
I see through you now. This campaign is a full-on assault of gift giving in the indie comics community.
Yes, this is my love letter to the fantasy that I feel like we've lost. There's no dinner parties here. There's no prom. This is an actual adventure. So yeah, and as you can see, we blew through that first goal within an hour, and now we're on the second goal there on those stretch goals.
You got 50 backers, okay, and you've met your goal like really pretty early on as well. That's cool, man. Happy to see that.
Yeah.
And you still got 26 days to go, so about a month. And when do the products ship? Do they ship immediately after that, or do you have to do some production time after the campaign?
So I printed out a bunch of proofs. Last year I printed out a good chunk of books for a comic convention that I went to, and I have a bunch left over. And people who backed those perks, they're not going to have to wait for me to send the books to the printer because I already have them. I'll just put them in a box and send them out. This book is already done. In fact, one thing, if you scroll down to the past the story part here, so where it says right there. So see these little boilerplates? There's a button on it. And if you're wondering, like, where the hell's the interior art? Just click the button and it should open up into a nice flipping book that you can flip through. And there's
fuck you.
And the audience can't see it, but you can.
They can't see it?
No, because you share the app and
all right.
But
you'll have to watch it. It's a beautiful comic book with the like animated page turns that flow with your mouse cursor. It's horrendous, terrible.
And then on top of that, you'll notice there's a download button, and the idea is I'm trying to get this story into your hands, so you can download the PDF of these free 15-page previews.
You want to get people an easy access into the story as much as possible.
Yep, yeah. Read the book on your terms. You don't necessarily have to stay on that web browser to flip through it. You can just download the PDF and read it, whenever you want.
And dude, I find this idea of having two artists do the interpretation of the comic absolutely actually three now with the manga.
Yeah,
it's absolutely fascinating to me. Did they know they were all doing the same comic at the same time, or what was kind of the surrounding context of that?
Well, so Eduardo and Michaela definitely knew. They were the Studio Barbusco who did the alternate art edition. In fact, I was in direct communication with them almost every day, every step of the way. And we were able to get that printed before the standard edition, and it was available at the Granite State Comic-Con back in September. That team knew, and then I had very little communication with Antonio at points, but Antonio, hopefully when he receives both the standard edition and the manga as part of his compensation, it's like, oh, okay, I did 2 books. So, yeah.
Because it's wild to me. Like, it makes you want to, because it's rare that you see 2 interpretations of the same script and everything. It's absolutely like a unique kind of point of comparison in the creative process.
Yeah, because again, I set out a survey. I'm trying to give customers more of what they want and less of what they don't want. And by giving these 2 teams interpretations of that story, we get to kind of distill the story out of the art, and they can actually, absorb the story, regardless of which edition they're reading through. And then they could be like, well, I didn't like this panel, or I didn't like this style, or I really liked this, or, I really like this interpretation of this scene. and it kind of gives them that, it gives them basically what they've been asking for, because the standard edition is kind of more of like a traditional comic, whereas the alternate art edition, though it's the size of a normal comic, it has more of a storybook like Bandes des Années kind of approach, where it's, because I noticed that I had a lot of European backers on the first campaign, and Bandes des Années is huge over in Europe. So I thought, well, let's give them some of that.
Oh yeah, I grew up on bande dessinée. I'm in the French part of Canada, so we had access to the American market and the European market. I mean, I say we did, we still do.
Oh yeah,
it's the best part, and they're cheap. They're very cheap. The French bande dessinées are like $25 here, hardcover, bigger format, and everything.
I think it was a recommendation by Razorfist where I ended up checking out the Elric bande dessinée. It's really solid.
Oh my god, dude! Elric of Melnimide. Yes.
So
good. I have issue 5. I have the artist's edition of that. It's freaking fantastic.
Showdown with your coon.
Bond Destinée, and he's like, what was it, Peter in that one? Oh my god, there's just so much porn.
Well, now that you mention it, that first issue of the Elric bande dessinée, it gets a little spicy in places. I'm not gonna lie.
It's called erotica. It's not porn. It's part of the story, Billy. It's required to move the plot.
It's
called sex position.
Sure, it was plot. Yeah, 2 well-rounded plots. Yes.
Very
2
soft.
Big
plot.
Reasons to check it out.
Yep. A very perky literary masterpiece.
And then, hello, wavy. Oh, what happened? Just still focus on me now. Focus on me. We're still streaming here, okay? The physics can sometimes break as I'm doing these demos, but never mind that. Next pose, Superman pose. Guys, eyes on me. You can still move your fingers. Oh wow, the boobas have... Oh, okay, well, that would make sense because the boobs have its own physics capsule, so... just try not to get distracted.
I'll try not to. Whoops, I failed.
Can't be getting distracted, guys. Come on.
Gosh.
Oh, that was sweet.
Yeah.
So what video games did you work on?
So let's see. The very first game that I worked on was a startup studio called Project Offset. And the game never saw the light of day, even though back in 2006, 2007, when we were working on it, it was already more advanced than some of the Unreal Engine tech at the time. But we ended up losing funding with Namco, and I moved over to a company called Red 5 Studios, and I worked under former bigwigs over at Blizzard to do Firefall, which was kind of an MMO shooter, science fiction. It was pretty cool. And then after that one kind of blew up in my face, I went down to San Diego, and I worked with Tryon Worlds and NBC Universal to work on a TV show / video game called Defiance, which was another MMO style.
Oh my god, James! The one fucking time James should have been on this fucking stream, dude.
Yeah, I know it's always like that when you miss an episode.
He played Defiance when it came out and shit.
Yeah, and then after that, I went up to Silicon Valley, and they moved me out to Japan, and I worked for. We were under contract from Ubisoft. To make an Assassin's Creed mobile / whatever the hell else they were doing at the time games, and after about
the Chinese one, like a side scroller, wasn't it?
Like the Legends or no, I worked on like a mobile one, and it was called Memories, and so we did all this research. This is like, dude, I got doxxed for this, so it's a funny story, but when Assassin's Creed Shadows came out, the whole Assassin's Creed with ninjas thing, I thought, because that's when I went out to Japan and I went to all these Shinto shrines and did all this research, all this historical shit. I was with all my other,
Quick question before we move. What position? What were you doing at the companies?
Well, okay, so at the original Offset company, I started as an associate designer that worked on systems and UI.
Okay.
When I went to Firefall, I did UX, and they moved me into basically designing like combat maps. I did some pretty fun multiplayer maps there, in addition to UI design as well. But it was kind of like a many hats kind of thing. So I don't really know what my position was there. It's just designer, and they always employed me to do like wiki documentation and stuff because I'm highly organized at that. And whenever I did infographics or made posters or whatever to explain systems or whatever, they would always call it, we need it to be Fiskified. You know, my boss would be like, hey, I need you to Fiskify these designs. I'm like, okay, yeah, we want to make sure the engineers know what we're talking about. Okay. And then at Defiance, I was an encounter designer or content designer. And I did everything from designing kind of the scenarios. I worked on these things called arc falls, which were like these world events where like stuff was coming down from the sky and you'd go there try to take on like big world bosses. I also worked on some of like the little mini game stuff. And I also I was kind of their canary in the coal mine when it came to testing out their internal or in-house tools, because the game was built basically with Microsoft Access and its own proprietary engine. So yeah, and then over
not that XML but bullshit, right?
Oh god, dude, so when we were designing the Arcfall stuff, it was all in Lua script. So we basically compiled what they call runtime compile, where like the game launches, it's the engine, and then it has these things called hooks where it's like you can actually make a
Dude, I worked with the same shit for what was the game I worked on called? Fucking
Age of Empires.
Age of Empires. Thank goodness you're there. Backup memory.
Yeah.
I did some UI work for Age of Empires 3.
Nice. Dude, I love the Age of Empires series.
Yeah, me too. It was a lot of fun. But yeah, it was a weird environment to work in.
Oh, dude, honestly, it's so hot and cold in video game development because you make a lot of good friends in like the trench. You know, when you're in the trenches and you're like suffering and dude, we had a 9-month crunch with the Defiance game. Like, I couldn't go home to
they were trying to push that out right when the show first season.
Yeah. And they were so freaking disorganized, dude. Like, AAA game development needs to die. Like,
and
these people,
if I remember correctly, it was PS3 and Xbox 360 at the time as well. They were trying to launch it on with the PC.
Yep. And not only that, we had to design all of our encounters for both a game controller and a mouse and dynamically adjust accordingly.
I remember downloading that, by the way. And by the way, this is back on Xbox 360, so it took like a day. I had really bad internet.
Oh man,
bad speeds on that console. Just download it and played it for I have to be maybe 5 hours. Never touched it again.
Yeah. That's the thing is we the way how horribly mismanaged that company was. We lost, it was the most expensive undertaking that NBC Universal has ever invested in. And it was we had some amazing people that weren't allowed to do anything. I'm not gonna call out names because I don't want to get them in trouble. They're still in the industry, but we had these guys that were intimidatingly experienced, 15 years experience over me and stuff. And they were the nicest guys, cool, super chill and stuff. And then, they'd be like, hey, how about we do this? How about we do that? How about, and then you have these arrogant pricks that were they got into the industry because of cronyism. They played the corporate ladder game. They did all this stuff. They made the workplace hostile because they'd be shouting at the top of their lungs and just saying pretty rude shit to people while we're working. And you would just see these veterans just kind of keep quiet because they didn't want to lose their job. And when the game launched, love him or hate him, Angry Joe gave the most brutally honest review of Defiance. It was the funniest thing I've ever seen if it wasn't for the fact that I was losing my job over it. Because everything that he said was everything that, my coworkers and I were standing in the back of the room and we're watching this in the conference room and he's got it up on a big screen and Angry Joe's ripping into it. He's like, what the hell's going on with this? This is stupid. Like, this is busted. Like, there's no excuse for these kind of bugs at launch, blah, 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 blah. And we're like, yeah, we know. We've been telling them this, you know.
Have you heard of the stuff that's going on with Bungie?
Oh, so that marathon game, and I mean, I hope this doesn't make me come off as an asshole, because I know that the people down in the trenches who have no say in the design or decisions, I feel really bad for them, and I know morale is like cratering right now. But dude, that game is an eyesore.
So I wasn't even referring to the art stealing.
Yeah.
Just the alleged stories of the higher ups and all that shit that they're using. We're using the, what was it? The company paycheck to do like sweet parties and shit and all this other shit.
God,
basically trying to stall it out until because Sony can't really fire them without getting sued. So Sony's trying to like let that thing fail. Don't delay it. Let it fail. Then they can fire them.
Well,
and these dudes are waiting out on a basically what is it? Severance pay or whatever.
Yeah, they get the nice the golden parachutes. But here's the thing. Here's a sad thing. Remember how I was saying there were asshole cronies at that Defiance game? Guess where they went after Defiance collapsed? They went to Bungie. It's
probably the same fucking dudes.
It probably is. Yeah. Like we had this one producer who, screw her, she was like this hardcore screeching feminist, like, and she's not even a designer, she's a producer, which is a worthless role in game development, because the mere existence of a crunch time shows you that producers aren't worth their weight at all. They you know, if you can't stick to a schedule, there's no point in having a schedule. And she basically was like looking at our design stuff, and she's like, oh, well, that's crap. I can do better. When I worked at EverQuest too, we did a great design crafting system. So they like threw out all the stuff that my coworker and I were working on.
EverQuest 2?
Yeah.
Like Josh Strife Hayes has a video asking the question if that's the worst MMO ever.
Dude, that game was but yeah, like I take that back. I remember I was in their forums because I was a fan of the original EQ, and I was in their forums, and I'm just like, dude, World of Warcraft is going to destroy you. Like, I played the beta for that. Like, you guys are building this game for future hardware, and it looks like ass. You know, like,
when did Defiance come out? I'm trying to remember.
2012, I believe.
2013.
Yep.
Oh yeah, that was the worst fucking time because GTA 5 came out. That's probably why I got rid of it or like quit playing it really quick.
Yeah. Well, that and like the company was so disorganized that it went through about 1,000 revisions. We had so the company was composed of like a lot of former Sony Online Entertainment guys that never worked on shooters, and then they brought shooter designers in at the 11th hour. Then they brought these other dudes from other companies, like THQ imploded, so they got like a bunch of THQ refugees who were awesome, by the way. Like I managed to. I worked with one of the dudes on the Arcfall system, and this guy was just like, wow, like I should just tail him whenever he was doing something. I'd like kind of stand behind him and say, oh, so that's how you do that. Like, you know, when you have a coworker that's really good at something, you're like, I want to learn from him. Like, I want to cheat from him. Like, that was one of my favorite coworkers because he was more than happy to share. He's like, oh yeah, here's the Lewis script. Just change this and this.
You know what team I want to meet?
What's that?
You know, have you ever the War of Monsters game?
War of Monsters.
It was a PS2 game. It had like they couldn't license like the actual like 1950s kaiju monsters and shit. So they're all like ripoffs. However, it had like the best like main menu theme and all that. And
nice.
Like it was like a 1950s drive-in theater and stuff.
Oh, sweet.
The options. I'm gonna have to pull that up in a bit. It's like really good.
Have you noticed how bad UI has gotten in like the last?
It's all gotten simple and fucking
minimalist,
boring.
You want to know the funny part?
What's that?
It's still busy.
Yeah. They flood your screen with a bunch of tiles now. It looks like Windows 8, and it's all like monochrome, and everything looks identical. There's no like. Unless it's from Japan, like, you know.
Also, like the most generic font you can think of as well.
Yeah, some sans serif, like Roboto or something.
Yeah. And it's been like a thing since, I want to say, like 2011. games have been like really going down that route.
Yep. Yeah, so that's one of the previews. That's a standard edition preview, and you can download the thing down there at that little download button at the bottom.
Turning the pages is too much fun in this.
Yeah, so that's the standard edition interpretation of a bit of the first chapter, and then if you look at the other ones, you can see the alternate art edition and then the manga edition. But the manga edition actually shows a bit of a different chapter.
Oh, okay, interesting. Nice. So there's no excuse not to check it out. Do check that out.
Yeah, I don't want the worst thing in the world to me is buyer's remorse. Like I want people to know exactly what they're getting into. So I'm trying to give as much of an opportunity. In fact, if you go to the InfinitaleChronicles.com website, you can actually download a free preview of the first book as well. So that way you have a full at least a little bit of the first book, a little bit of the second book, you get a little taste of it.
Yeah, you know what the art is going to look like. You can read samples of the story and all that. It's good.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a requirement to have at least a few pages to be able to sample nowadays.
Yeah. Well, like I like one of my policies is also I have to have at least one cover be done by the interior artists. Like I don't like that bait and switch feeling that a lot of books kind of give, where it's
there's
like
got to be a hot chick on at least one of the covers. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but like you get these like awesome covers by these artists that aren't even involved in the book. And then you open the book and you're like, what the hell was that? That doesn't look anything like it.
It's true. You want the cover to represent what's inside.
Yeah.
And American comics also, and this happens in India as well for unfortunate reasons, but sometimes you got to change artists along the way. Yours is kind of the opposite because all three artists did the whole thing.
Yeah.
So you could change artists just to freshen it up a little bit. And
Well,
go ahead.
No, you were saying, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Well, I was just going to ask, are there variations in the interpretations that there must be something added in reading all three versions as well, I would imagine.
Yeah. So, because it's it's a team's artistic vision, they may or may not have made certain things clear, or you may have missed things the way that it was represented by their art style or by their paneling. So it's one of those things where if you get both the alternate art and the standard, you will get kind of a full story. You will get both visions, and things that may or may not have been as apparent or clear, you can kind of make out on between the two of them.
Sweet.
Man, yeah, and so because we blew through our two of those stretch goals, the second stretch. So the first stretch goal is everybody that backs a physical book will get a two-sided bookmark that's spot UV. On one side, it's got that image that Clark Oclesa did there of Aisling there with the big hand behind her, and then on the other side, it's got the like a decoder of the language of Slichit, which is this like ancient language that some of the characters speak that our heroes don't really understand. So you kind of get that R2D2 experience, and you can translate it. They could say like, "Be sure to drink your Ovaltine."
You got a decoder ring effect in there as well.
Yeah.
Oh, ask Frederic about his Star Wars experience.
Well, hold up. Before that,
that's a rabbit hole.
How they did the main menu in this game?
Yes, look at that.
And like you clicked up on the options and it would switch over to the second screen.
Oh, nice.
Oh, that's awesome.
Wow. We have lost so much.
Like this thing was great as a kid to play. It's a fun game.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of people talk about it now. It's like design in video games has regressed in a lot of ways.
Dude, it's happened to movies. If you go back to even the mid 2010s, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go back, even the movies on the DVDs had good interactive like UIs and shit, right? Mm-hmm. It had something going on. And this was like a thing you look in the early 2000s, even 2010, and then at a certain point they stopped and they got really lazy with it.
Yeah, well, and here's the scary part: is it's not just UIs and it's not just entertainment media; it's all design. Like I watched this one video and they were talking about like the communist brutalist designs of buildings now for even our fast food restaurants. Like you look at McDonald's from the 80s and it was all kid friendly and stuff and imaginative with the arches and all this stuff. And now they've done away with all the mascots, did away with everything. And you go to it and it looks like you're entering a shoe factory to go eat.
All the fast food restaurants are cubes now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's depressing.
Yeah, they've
What's
sucked
more
all the wealth
optimistic
from
in a
everything.
restaurant design than cubes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. But it's everything. Everything is now like sanitized. All the
Yeah.
rough edges are cut out. And it makes everything lose its personality.
I-
That's why
I-
my stuff looks like it's from like the 90s.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the very embodiment of like you've seen it before with like these like advertisements from like corporations and everything, where it's like they've got these hyper simple art styles and everything. You can tell you can tell it was made just like with a handful of assets, and I'm like, this just removes any sort of edge you could imagine.
What if I remember? Yeah, the minimalist like trend with all the logo companies and shit.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Quick question. So, what did you think about when there was the RDR2 crunch stuff that happened? Like, did you ever have like almost 2 years of it happen before?
Yeah, so I didn't have 2 years. I had about 9 months of it. And crunch time is a failure of product management. And anybody that tells you otherwise is either a producer or a liar or both.
Yeah. Like I assume they're like, I mean, this goes for like most of things you work in. There's usually going to be a little bit of a crunch, but like,
yeah, well, because like
you get up there, it's like, what are y'all doing? What is going on?
But Chris has a point. Like, it's one of those things where like if you have a little bit of it, I think it's okay, but it's like when it's consistently happening, and this happens a lot in game development, you know, it's like just full on mismanagement.
Yeah,
like,
right. But
especially for
what I
long
was just,
periods of time.
I wasn't trying to say that it,
No,
it just normally happens or just because it happened. I'm
No,
just saying it normally happens in most jobs. However, like especially when it comes to video games, it always seems like it's extreme.
In the 10 years that I worked in that industry, I know people who have deleted themselves, people who have died from illnesses that were probably brought on by the insane lack of work-life balance, and the countless divorces. You know, it like I have known military brats that have been less uprooted and moved around the country or world than game developer kids. Like, the industry is designed to prey upon naive 20-somethings and then work them like dogs, chew them up and poop them out. And they're at the end, they're just so bitter and jaded. And a lot of them are unemployable afterwards. And it's like, there's no retirement plan in video game development. You know,
Also, I'm pretty sure the pay is not the best.
No, the pay
I
sucks.
assume it's very much like the Japanese manga and animation industry. Where you're just doing it because you want to be
I actually got good pay, but that's because they went after me. I was working for the government at the time, and they wanted me, so I had the choice. I said, "This is my."
There
price.
you go.
Yeah.
As soon as they're looking for you and you're working for the government beforehand, they gotta raise their expectations a bit.
But I was earning way more than my superior. Like the guy who was running the project was earning less than I was, so it was sad.
I more than doubled my income when I left that industry, and a lot of like the stability and everything. But the lot of it that really hurt was the fact that these studios were situated in very high cost of living areas, like Irvine, California. Yeah, San Diego, Irvine, Tokyo. Melbourne, Australia, like these are insanely high prices. Like it was like $2,000 a month for like a 640 square foot apartment. You know, good luck trying to get a relationship going.
Companies going to more lower cost of living.
Yeah, like, and they're like, oh well, we're not going to attract talent if we don't go to like where the metropolitan stuff is, you know. And it's like you didn't realize that like you can work remotely now. Well,
there's also the point of, I mean, there's so many. You're gonna find talent anywhere in this country that want to be a game dev. You're going to. It's just the industry's that big now.
Yeah,
You
and
don't have to worry about,
I celebrate the death of these AAA dinosaurs and the the rise of the AA mammals in the indies. Like, I think that game Claire Obscure Expedition 33 proved that you don't need 100+ faculty or studios to make these products. That
I was
game
about to ask your opinion on that, just because like everybody's been saying it since that game's released. Baldur's Gate 3 came out a couple years ago, and that started the discussion. But this feels like the second big game to come along to change everything there.
The funny thing about the Claire Obscura was the simple fact is like Mel Gibson kind of proved this in Hollywood as well.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need, these $500 million budgets and shit to make a good movie.
Nope.
People will spend money to go watch.
Yeah, but there's a lot of middlemen that are just like raising the cost of everything. Like if you look at the Disney movies, it looks like if you start something with a blank piece of paper at Disney, it's $100 million. You know what I mean?
You know where a lot of the budget's going to, right? The producers that do nothing, and there's like 17 producers on this movie for some reason.
Yeah, there's so much bloat. Like I was saying with the Defiance team, like there were people that if they were not there, we would have been more productive. So not only were they not productive themselves, but they were actively holding back, other people from doing their jobs. Yeah, Melbourne High. Yeah, they do.
The most insane one, and Otter will back me up on this one, was the stupid higher ups at BioWare.
Oh, yeah.
The BioWare Magic guys. Oh, we could promise this. We'll get it done. You'll somehow find a way to do it.
Yeah, all the underlings are like looking up at him like, really? Yeah. And guess where one of the producers was from the Defiance team? Guess
oh my God, was he?
Oh no.
Yeah, we went to BioWare. Yeah, and we were watching it, and we saw a picture of her with Anita Sarkeesian. And
You
we're
know
like,
what?
yep,
Oh
that's
no.
Leo's
You know
dead.
what? Hold up. That actually makes sense because that game came out in 2013. Their next game was Mass Effect Andromeda.
Yep. And then they had that Anthem thing that Albatross.
Yeah.
It's all connecting.
God.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
it rhymes.
And it's so
it's like poetry.
And they're so like that was the thing is that like when I was so disillusioned when I got into the industry because I this is going to be a aging reference, but like I felt like the B girl in the end of that Blind Melon video where I was like, open the gates and I'm amongst my people now, because I worked in blue collar stuff, and like if you ever want to see my eyes glaze over, just start talking about sports ball, like so like I loved my coworkers, they're great people and everything, but like I didn't really have anything in common with them. But when I went into video games, I'm like, yes, fellow nerds. And the first thing I noticed was none of them, like everybody thought they were too cool for school. Like they didn't like video games. They're all using it as a stepping stool to get into Hollywood. And B, they hated their customers. And I was like, what's going on?
It's like two really stupid career decisions if they think that's a stepping stool to get into Hollywood. Who do they think they are? Hideo Kojima?
A lot of your shitty writers, they're failed Hollywood writers that go into there.
Well, yeah, sorry.
But so you end up with a lot of those came into gaming as well. A lot of those writers you see.
Yeah, I so one of my friends who was a concept artist went on to go work for Marvel, and he actually designed the costumes of those African bald chicks from Wakanda there.
Yeah, Dora Milaje.
Okay. Yeah, the Dora Milaje. He designed those, and ironically, they're all based off of Filipino costumes.
That's funny.
Yeah, there's like nothing African about that.
Listen, the liberal left white chick producer said, "Man, that's clearly African."
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
man.
And it's weird because it's so polarizing there, where like the hot and cold, where a lot of like trench camaraderie, like you're suffering there, and you're with other people there that have been working, for 90 hours a week, and we're like, yeah, you kind of get the band of brothers kind of approach. But then there's like these other people, and they're like, wait, we have to come in on our weekends to do this, and these douchebags don't. What the, like we start getting kind of frustrated, and then when they show up, they end up bringing like one day we were working, it was like some Saturday, and remember I was telling you there was that guy that had like 15 years of experience. Yeah. He's all quiet at his desk. He obviously didn't want to be there. Nobody wanted to be there on their Saturday, but he was there, grinning and bearing it, and he was doing it. And the producers just came in and they're like, yeah, we're going to have a Nerf fight. And they brought a bunch of Nerf guns and stuff. And they shot the dude in the eye who was trying to do his work.
Oh, my God. Oh, no.
Yeah.
How well did he continue to grin and bear it?
He got real quick. Like, he did and then he got up and walked out into the hallway. And I'm sure he was probably shouting expletives or whatever. And then he came back and quietly sat down and did his job. Guy was a trooper.
What a trooper.
There's a special place in hell for people like that.
Yeah, and this is the same producers who they tell us, hey guys, we have to have this game out by April, blah blah blah. So no time off. We're going into a crunch mode, so we're going to be working through our weekends now. Blah blah blah. If you have a sick day or whatever, you have to okay it with your supervisor. All this stuff. We're like, okay, and then the guy goes and takes paternity leave for like a month.
Oh yeah.
I really do think, and I think a lot of people are starting to believe this now. It's like, if you're going to get into game development today, it's much better to do a startup and actually take that risk.
Yep. Yeah. Know who you're working with, and don't be in a corporate bureaucracy where you're just another disposable, peon to basically.
Oh, I know what I got to show you now. You're gonna love this.
Ooh, Stellar Blade.
Fuck, I'm trying to remember the name of it. Dino.
I just realized that Stellar Blade, the PC port, is coming out like the 11th of June or something like that.
Yes. Can't wait for those mods.
I am not buying a PS5.
You know what
game.
The first mod
I will
is
buy it on PC though. I will pay for it.
Yeah.
Hold up. You know what the first mod will be for Stellar Blade? Let's not.
Even.
Let's not kid ourselves. And here's the thing: the jiggle physics and compression is already built into the game.
Yep.
Do you even need to ask what kind of mods are going to be part of it? It's pretty obvious.
Even the Oblivion remaster, one of the first ones.
All they had to do with Oblivion was just move a lot of the mods over. It was the same engine and everything underneath.
Yeah.
Oh, this is one dude who's been developing this. It's a dinosaur fighting game.
Nice. It's like Amaterasu.
Yeah, you showed me that.
Well, I'm showing Chris over here.
No, it's great. No, I love to see it again. This is a badass idea, man.
Yes.
One man doing this?
Yeah, it's one dude.
Oh, yeah. Do you remember Flappy Bird back in the day?
Yeah.
That dude got I think millionaire status off of just that simple little game.
The dude who did
real quick too.
Stardew Valley, which is one of my favorite games. He's mega rich right now.
And the Flappy Bird, that was all Mario assets, I believe, the pipes, the birds, everything.
I still love talking about the actual dev story behind Stardew Valley. He was basically living off of both his parents and his girlfriend's income while he was making that game.
Oh man.
By the way, if he didn't marry her, he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah,
I know. I'm I hear about all the all she was doing. She was going to school, working 2 part-time jobs and everything. Meanwhile, he was working on that and playing Final Fantasy. I'm
oh my god.
I'm she's stuck with him.
Dude, she's a keeper.
Yeah, she's a keeper.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah.
100%.
Well, someday if I ever get my druthers and I get dumb enough to try to make my own video game, it'll definitely be after the Infinitales stuff. I'll probably actually design try to make a
here's the thing: you could take your world, right, and you can make a beat 'em up or whatever with it.
Mm-hmm. What I was hoping to do, and I know this is probably going to be a turnoff because the genre isn't for everybody because it's very niche. I've always wanted to remake a better high fidelity graphical SRPG like Shining Force. where it's kind of a almost like have you ever heard of Fire Emblem, like those style of games?
Yeah, I've actually played the original Shining Force. I wasn't very good at it, but I did play it back in the day.
Yeah, it's like an RPG, but you get to move around instead of just stand still.
Yeah, I remember playing it. I had like a pack of games on our kind of like home PC at the time. It was like had like that, had like Sonic 2, it had like a game called like, what was it, Comic Zone or something like that.
Oh, I love
that game. Kicked ass, by the way.
Yes, very hard though.
Yeah. Yeah, I legit love that game.
Corey is not a fan of Fire Emblem. Man, well, I mean that's tabletop.
How can you not be? They're forced down our throat by taking up half the Smash roster.
yeah. I mean, technically, Smash Brothers is a Fire Emblem game. Man, but I mean that kind of captures the tabletop role playing experience, and the way that the Shining Force team really streamlined their interface. It really made it accessible to people without having to basically play a spreadsheet.
Yeah, who wants to play a spreadsheet? Am I right?
Yeah, math is
people
not
who play
fun.
EVE Online, Otter.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know how they do it.
And medieval adventurers who get abducted by aliens.
Yeah.
Why does every indie game not do cool games like Quake or Half-Life Zelda? Instead, it's a bloody strategy.
There are exceptions, Corey. There are a few exceptions. I had Trippy Soul recommend Tunic to me, which is a really fun blend of Legend of Zelda and Souls-like.
The little fox character, yeah.
Yeah, it's something you wouldn't... So I kind of went into that game expecting it to be sort of a little on the pretentious side, but I was pleasantly surprised. A lot of more art house simplistic looking indie games, they love to go with sort of a very what's the word, like very like interpretive,
the
like
cozy
context.
games.
Sometimes they can get a little pretentious, in my opinion. This one strikes a good balance. I really like it.
And Corey, if you want indie games that aren't point and click stuff, there is a whole metric butt ton of Metroidvanias out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I do. I backed one called Mandragora, and it's a Metroidvania that feels almost like Diablo, side scroller and stuff. But dude, this game is gorgeous, and it was done by an Eastern European team, and the production value for a small indie team, again, it's like Clair Obscur. It's absolutely gorgeous. And then Corey, if you want like the old school like Doom or like Heretic or Quake. There's a game I was playing called Wizardom that's on Steam for super cheap. That's, first person shooter.
Worms was the only game with the good... Dude, that game was so much fun. I had so much fun with friends playing that.
Yes.
I saw a Doom like being advertised just yesterday. I can't remember what it was called though. I think it was, it was a simple indie game, and it was straight up like the old Doom and Wolfenstein and
yeah. Oh, Blasphemous. Those games are gorgeous. Pixel art at its best.
Yeah, I've seen people talk about those on Steam.
I kind of like seeing the whole discussion going around about why Doom the Dark Ages is kind of flopping compared to the Oblivion remaster and Clair Obscur. And I
feminize it.
For the record, I like the new Doom games. I really like 2016. I love Eternal.
Yeah.
But Dark Ages just isn't having that same impact.
Well, yeah, I played through the whole game and beat it. I had some problems with that one.
I heard that the Doom the Dark Ages was, feminized, boring, like whatever. Like my thing is I won't buy it because I don't buy games as services.
Oh yeah,
like you have to have like a Bethesda account or whatever and log in.
So they people found out when they were getting their copies that it was actually a fucking download code. It wasn't an actual physical disc, which I do think actually hurt it a little bit.
That's. I mean, technically, I will give this. Bethesda is no stranger to that. They've been doing it for well over a decade at this point.
True, but you know, you still think, oh, you know,
well, that's
physical.
I mean, it does suck.
Yeah, and it's at a point now where I think, you know, the fatigue is real. You know, like the threshold has been exceeded where they pull that crap, they release bug-ridden, unfinished games or pretentious leftist Marxist crap, or, you know, we get the services, or we get like what Nintendo's pulling with the $80 crap. Like enough. Like I've had my fill, and I can't stand no more.
By the way, who the fuck would have thought it would have been Nintendo who broke the iceberg this time?
Well, back in the NES days, Nintendo was an asshole. Like they screwed over all of their competition.
I know, but it seemed like they were like, "Oh, now you're back to good."
Yeah, well, you notice that
during like the early or mid 2000s, right?
Well, I blame Doug Bowser. I mean, once Iwata left, we're seeing kind of the post Iwata, and then when even Reggie Fils-Aimé, their former marketing lead or whatever, he's like, yeah, this is not Nintendo.
If any company would have known it's a bad idea to hire Bowser, it would have been Nintendo, right?
Yeah, I know. It's like the signs are there.
Most predictable bad choice ever. Nintendo hires Bowser. No!
This is my opinion on Nintendo in general. Nintendo is simultaneously ingenious with how they make games, but extremely stupid in places when it comes to marketing their games.
The idiot over Avowed. Talk about fucking nosediving your entire game before launch.
Yeah, he fucked that game over.
It was him and the shitty league of community managers.
Yeah, it's
like I was curious about that game up until like we started seeing more of it. Like this is even before like the whole controversy around it. Like for reference, I actually really like the first Pillars of Eternity. It's not perfect by any stretch, but I still really enjoy it for what it is. And I thought it was going to carry that, but it seemed like it was trying to mix a little bit of that with some of the worst aspects of Skyrim. And worst of all, you do not have Chris Avellone writing it. You have like their key writers.
Dude, when the first gameplay came out, and it was not the art style we were promised on that original reveal, completely different. Like super bright and colorful versus when we got the original reveal was like this dark and shit, right? Completely opposite of what people were thinking. And then the more and more they started telling us what the game was, and they were saying, oh, it's basically it's more on the, it's not really like a Skyrim-ish or anything. It's more on the lines of what's that shitty ass game they made before? The
Outer Worlds.
Outer Worlds. I fucking hate that game. It's so bad. Either way, Outer Worlds. And I was like, oh no. And then the stuff happened with the one dude, and I was like, I'm good. I'm good.
Like I like one revelation after another. The thing is, like, it wasn't even that long ago when Obsidian was kind of on a roll. Before Outer Worlds, they were on a roll.
Well, I think that was because of Chris Avellone, to be honest. Like, you look at, like, you had New Vegas. You had that, they did their, like, Fergus was like, we'll do licensed games, and then that will finance us to do, like, our own original IPs. And then we'll go back to licensed games. And they had some original IP games that were really good. And I think a lot of that, it's, to me, like, if I see Chris Avellone attached to a game, I'll buy it. Like, I'm interested. You had my curiosity. Now you have my attention.
Is he even in the gaming
industry?
Oh,
he got canceled. Like, this industry canceled him. Like, it's just like what Amy Hennig. Like, she's the other one. Legacy of Kain, all that stuff. The Soul Reaver stuff.
I think he's like an avowed hater now, Chris Avellone. It's really funny to see, actually.
Him. Yeah, well,
I mean, they're shitting on something that he originally wrote.
Well, he wrote the first game. I think he wrote parts of the second game, and then he left.
And he got ousted.
I think that's why, like, I like the second Pillars of Eternity, but I'm like, I don't know. It's just not grabbing me like the first game did. The first game was like dealing with like these cool like existential questions. It's like, yeah, if you were like eternally reincarnated from one life to the next, and you realized like you had an epiphany of all your past lives, what would happen? And it explored some pretty interesting ground with it. Second game is like a full-on kind of crappy pirate adventure, and pirate adventures sound awesome. It's just not this one. At least not in my opinion.
Dude, it's so funny that we're now seeing people starting to wake up that Obsidian shit now and BioWare.
Yeah.
With all the original people, they're gone.
Yeah.
Well, BioWare's been shit for a while.
Yeah, once the doctor sold it to EA, it just went to shit. And then, like I said, I worked with people who were shit in companies I worked in, and they went over there. So it's like, shit in, shit out. But yeah, I mean, look at Blizzard, dude. Blizzard, like 20 years ago, or 15 years ago, or whatever, was an amazing company, and now everybody that made Blizzard what Blizzard is or was, they don't exist anymore. And now we're seeing a major dip in quality. We're seeing all this weird rainbow activist crap. We're hearing all about these horrific working conditions. What was it, like some freak show was like stealing breast milk out of the company break room? Like,
wasn't that was Activision, wasn't it?
No, I think that was Blizzard.
Was it
Yeah.
Blizzard?
Yeah, like, and the Cosby suite, and like, like it was all this crap, and it's like, I remember when I was in the industry, dude, I left back in 2014, and I haven't bothered looking back, but like when I, like 2007, 2010-ish, I would have given my left arm to go and work for Blizzard. Like that was like the pinnacle studio. And then I hear all these horror stories of my coworkers who actually made it. They lived the dream. They went in and they're like, wow, my base income is about 40 grand less than the average.
Well,
it's a privilege to work for Blizzard.
Blizzard knows that people want to work for them, so naturally they're going to lower their wages a little bit.
But do people really want to work for them now?
Not now.
No. And they've destroyed everything, dude. Like I uninstalled BattleNet back during the Blitzchung crap, and everything I've seen since that uninstallation has assured that I made the right decision. Nothing. Like Overwatch looks like crap now. They like stole the original game from customers and gave them this like awful repackaged Overwatch 2 with a more hostile to consumer
We
business.
want to talk about the biggest fucking failure. One of the big failures of that was them fumbling Overwatch 2.
Yeah, well, it's because nobody that's working there was part of the original teams that did that stuff, so they don't know what the frick they're doing. They're a bunch of like AAA industries are run by the most incredibly stupid and incompetent people I've ever met.
It's like HR took over.
I wonder if some of those also work
exactly
for free. Oh, I'm sorry, they're now called Halo Studios.
Oh yeah. Oh god. Yeah. So yeah, that crony guy there that went over to Bungie, I'm sorry, over to 343. No, wait, no, a different person went over to 343, and I remember I was contacted by a recruiter saying, "Hey, so and so or whatever, you want to come and work for 343?" And I'm like, "No, I'm good."
Dude, so okay, Halo 4. You want to talk about like the most Microsoft, one of the stupidest fucking companies. I think more stupid than Warner Brothers, to be honest with you.
Oh yeah.
When they got Halo 4 and they made 343, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, let's get a shitty writer, and then let's have them hire devs that don't play Halo or don't even like Halo. I'm sure they'll make a really good Halo, guys.
Yeah. Well, dude, that's the AAA industry in a nutshell. These people, like, I sat in on E3 when I was, working on the Defiance game, and I'm listening to our EP and our lead producers and stuff, like trying to schmooze with Microsoft and Sony and whatever to get on the keynote speech for that year's E3 and be like, yeah, we're going to have Defiance. It's going to be an Xbox, blah, 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 all this stuff. And like they were talking about it and not a single person knew the name of the game.
No.
So like, I'm in the back. They're like, yo, you, snap. What's the name of the game again? Like, okay.
You think they would know it because it's tied to a show?
Well, originally the original title for it was Coda, and that was like
the working title.
Yeah, that was like the interior or the internal title,
yeah.
And then like about a year into it, they're like, yeah, we did. And not only that, but the name is so freaking stupid because they had no synergy with the TV show, even though they completely lied, false marketing to all their customers. They're like, watch the show, play the game, save the world. There's the synergy between the two. And
yeah,
again,
the whole concept was supposed to be that like the game can affect where the show is going,
and vice
or the
versa.
show also affects the game, or some shit.
Yeah, and they completely lied to people. And we had some of the most and I don't liberally throw around the word genius, but like that 15-year plus guy, he came up with some really cool ass ideas, and I was like, dude, why don't we do this? Like one of his was like, why don't we have it so that like if you ever watched that show Fringe, in between commercial breaks, they would show these like little glyphs. It was like a hand with like one of the like an X-ray of a hand, and there'd be like one of the segments.
Yeah, stick fingers.
Yeah, and it turned out to be a crypt, like an actual message. It was all cryptographers could like decode it, and they realized it was a message that was being sent. And it was like, well, what if we gave the Rosetta Stone on the website? So now we're using two portals into the Defiance. We're like, you got all these commercial breaks that give you the clues. Then you go to the website to get the to decode it, and then you get the reward in the game.
How long did that game go in development for?
I joined it about I think 3 or 4 years into it, and the actual game itself. This is going to really sound sad. The actual game itself was developed in 9 months. All the pre-production before that was just a bunch of overpaid, uncoordinated, incompetent people spinning the wheels and spending money.
What did they do in pre-production then?
Well, they scrapped. It was originally going to be a hero shooter, and then they had this one where they were going to do kind of like a Mars Attacks thing, where they're going to go like a cheesy like 1950s or 40s style monsters. They called them the BEMs or BEM. Yeah, they're like the BEM Buster. They had a guy that looked like General MacArthur, with the shades and the corncob pipe.
Wait,
and like,
did this start out as like a different project and then got labeled with Defiance?
Yeah. So the Defiance name, this is the sad part. There was no cross like development or anything or coordination. So the reason why the game was called Defiance was because it was a pivotal battle in the post-apocalyptic alien/human conflict, and there was a city in San Francisco called Defiance, and when they ended up basically nuking the area, and both sides of the the aliens and the humans come to this realization that there's going to be mutually assured destruction, so they ended up brokering peace based on that Defiance city where everybody died. And then it's like, okay, so we have the city called Defiance in San Francisco. Great. Well, the TV show, it takes place in like St. Paul and Minneapolis, and it's post-apocalypse, and they have a city called Defiance in St. Paul and Minneapolis. I'm like, so there's two cities? That is the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Did you have any family members that are like really excited for this Defiance MMO, and you had to be like, I had to keep your NDAs and stuff like, oh, sweet summer child?
No, my family is not supportive of anything I do, so they didn't even care. I think my sister might have watched the show at one point, and basically the show was like the cast of Dexter's retirement home. You had like Julie Benz as the governor, Rita from Dexter.
All I remember, all I ever watched the show was that with my aunt and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Was like the first episode or something.
Mm-hmm.
And all I can remember is big building, alien ship, something explodes.
Yep.
That's it. I don't remember anything after that.
That's a whole lot.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what the show. Here's the thing. I was actually surprised when Jane brought it back up, and it was like the game was like post-apocalyptic, and I was like, was the show post-apocalyptic? I don't remember.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, well, so Grant Nolan, the guy that played I'm sorry, not Grant Nolan, Grant Bowler, the guy who played Nolan, the main hero from the show, the Australian, or he's actually, I believe I want to say he's British and he just lived in Australia. He might have been a Kiwi, I'm not sure. But that guy's awesome. Like, not only was that guy a gamer, like we actually gave him a skin of his character and allowed him to do multiplayer games. He's all like talking shit to players, and they're like, "Hey, that sounds just like the guy." It's like, that's because I am, But
I'm surprised the studio didn't have him come in and actually voice character. Did they?
He did all the voice work for his character that made cameos, and the
I don't know,
cameos made no
was
sense.
like 12 years ago, or no, not 12, 11 years ago when I played this.
Yeah, well, yeah, he was. So it was weird. Like in the first few missions or whatever, you end up meeting up with him and the hot Arathian chick, the alien chick there, and it's kind of like his adopted daughter, and they voiced all their own lines and everything. So it was kind of like that was like a bit of a nod or a crossover to the show. But I'm like, do you realize how far away, especially in a post-apocalypse, St. Paul and Minnesota is from, San Francisco? Like, this seems like a bit of a stretch.
You can ride your dragon in 30 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Was it the the David Benioff and whatever that guy was?
Yeah, Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah.
There is one thing about Defiance, at least the show. I don't know so much about the game that I remember explicitly.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to sound really trite, but it's how gray the cover and the whole visual design is. I'm like, this is the grayest looking TV show game I think I've ever seen.
Everything was washed.
Was the blue?
Yeah, light. Everything was washed in like that like gunmetal gray blue like overtone.
It just looked terrible.
It did, yeah.
Oh, what was your reaction to seeing Dragon Age: The Veilguard's art design?
So again, that's a BioWare game, so I kind of knew it was going to go that route when I saw the producer there, the feminist producer, destroy, go over there. I'm like, well, we're going to go sail on a golden parachute and destroy that company too. Yay. I enjoyed the first Dragon Age game. The second one was okay. It felt like kind of a step down. It was still okay, but it wasn't to me as good as the first one.
It was terrible. I'm gonna be honest, it's terrible.
Yeah, they reused the same maps over and over, so it got a little
50. Okay, so to give you a little bit of context, I played through Dragon Age 2 on the back Xbox 360 or Xbox One, Xbox Series X backwards compatibility.
Mm-hmm.
I did every mission. I've never played a game so buggy. And had literally soft locks where I had to restart the game and hopefully fucking get it to work.
Oh no.
And also using 2 maps for everything.
Yeesh. Yeah.
Like the cave system.
Wasn't it that EA only gave BioWare like a year to work on that game?
Oh no, it's worse than that actually. Keep in mind, go back and look at their timeline. So they did Mass Effect, and that was published by Microsoft. And then they got bought by EA, but they were already pretty much done with Dragon Age Origins. Like, EA really didn't have any effect on it when they got bought. Dragon Age 2, Mass Effect 2 were done in, like, the span of a year or two of each other. Like a year? Something like that.
Oh, God.
Well, I kind of fell out of love with and again, like, I'm a fantasy nerd, like this should have been like my jam, and I fell out of love with Dragon Age when I got to the third game, Inquisition, and it was all feminized, and like I'm like, this is like, because like the first game was so cool, it was dark, and like you're sacrificing your health and everything to be a demon hunter. Essentially, you have to like drink like
well, you have to drink the dark spawn's blood, and there's a chance that you just instantly fucking die.
Yeah.
Well, it was a cool mix of like, so it kind of came out in the same time where it's like Song of Ice and Fire is really starting to take off. You had like The Witcher being released just like a year or two apart or something like that. Like a lot of dark fantasy was being released right around that time.
Yeah.
However, what I really liked about Dragon Age Origins, it's still a hero's journey at the end of the day.
Yeah.
It's just the setting's a little darker. Whereas
also,
like,
fuck
The
you,
Witcher
BioWare.
is like full on like nihilistic at points. Game of Thrones, it depends on who you ask. It can be either hopeful or, well, I don't know if hopeful is the right word, but there's a little bit of debate there. Dragon Age Origins, it's unquestionably like a hero story.
Yeah.
By the way, fuck you, BioWare, for your last mission design that happens on every fucking game. From Dragon Age Origins to back. It's like, dude, I had such a hard time So I was playing like the Ranger class,
Mhm.
or not the Ranger, the Rogue, whatever it is.
Oh, the rogue class.
Holy hell.
I don't like the rogue class in that game.
Dude, I got through the final mission, and like the mission opens up with basically having enemies with 1 hit point because it really wants to make you feel like a badass, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
Big battle. When I had to get to the 2 commanders, they were hard, and I took them out before getting to the final boss. I had, I think, 2 mages and the dwarf with me, and we couldn't even hit the fucking dragon.
Oh.
And also you were supposed to use the bow things to knock him out of the sky.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one I tried to shoot immediately fucking broke.
Oh.
And I was like, it got to like 3 a.m. because I'm like, I want to finish this fucking game. I was like, I'm gonna look up, like maybe I'm missing something. And the one person who played the video was like, oh, you just gotta like spam the crossbow thing, and he'll just insta die. Like, you know, you can just spam him to death. And I'm like, what? Every time I do it, it breaks. Turns out the dude was playing on easy mode.
Oh.
And that's why that was happening. And I was like, what the hell?
Man.
The thing is that, especially on PC, I hear console is no joke either, but they actually upped the difficulty for PC version. So whenever I played through that game the first time, I'm like, holy shit, this game is kicking my ass.
Yeah. Yeah, even the intro like mission there. Like I played as a Dalish or a Dalish elf or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, you did the werewolf plotline.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole like, you know, with the prince thing at the beginning there and the or the royalty. Yeah, it was I don't know, it was freaking brutal. I was like, do I re-roll? Like what's going on?
So like this is I'm kind of going right off the back. Like I'm sure like Frederic and Billy have heard me talk ad nauseum about these books enough, but I'm kind of just coming away from like reading through some of the Witcher books, and the more I read through those, I hated how the elves were depicted in it. I'm like, it's very clearly like human elf racism bad, and I'm like, every time an elf character comes along, you know it's going to hammer that message down your throat.
I hate elves anyways. Like a vast majority of them can't do anything.
Here's the thing. I think Dragon Age Origins does it does the whole concept a lot better. Not perfect, but much better.
Well, so when I developed the my Infinitale tabletop game, I kind of approached it from a perspective of I don't want to rip off Dungeons and Dragons. I don't want to rip off Tolkien. Like everybody seems to Xerox with that stuff. So I went to the origins. I went to the Mabinogi. I went to Snorri Sturluson's Volsung Saga. Went to the the Kalevala there, the Finnish stories, and the elves in this world. You know, they're very similar, and they, you know, I would say they borrow a lot of inspiration from the Tua de Danann, you know, or the Tua Day, the Irish elves.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so in the actual tabletop role-playing game, it doesn't take place on the world of Esparza. It takes place on this world called Munadea, which is the world of men. There's no magic, you know, there's no fantasy, anything. It's just like the lowest of low fantasy. And something happens where there's this invasion of the Fae, which are the elves, the satyrs, all the fantasy races and the magic. And you have this massive conflict between the natural order versus, you know, kind of the magical chaos. And it's, you know, as a player, you get to choose which side takes over. So,
dude, I hate elves so much, man, that even in my little fantasy thing I'm putting together, they're just straight up evil. No, there's no, oh, we're good now. They're just evil.
I like elves, but I don't like the Mary Sue elves.
Yeah,
that's the distinction I make. There are plenty of good elves that are written in fiction. Like, it's just like I actually think Tolkien's elves are great. It's a lot of the derivatives of Tolkien's elves.
I hate Tolkien's elves.
Come on,
those little bitches. Those little bitches caused the problem with Sauron, and then said, Weapons not our problem anymore. And then fucking like little bitches. I'm like, fuck you, elves.
Hey, that's nothing compared to the Witcher elves. Their whole world gets invaded by humans and other monsters, and their whole strategy is to stick their head in the sand and like wait it over because they're immortal. 500 years later, they're a dying race, and they're like, man, I guess it's the humans' fault.
So is that like an allegory for like Britain or Europe?
So Chris,
it's not subtle at all.
So are your elves like? Did they lose their kingdom to humans and then bitch about it?
They lose their kingdom to themselves.
Okay.
They start off as these immortal by age, pretty people with problems, the eternally adolescent people. And I don't know if you've ever, if you're familiar with the Plato's allegory of the cave.
Yes.
But if you've ever seen films like or read books like Logan's Run, where they believe they're in this utopia and everything is planned out for them, and they have these custodial gods that watch over them and tell them what to do, and everything's fine, just do exactly what you're told. You know, the dogma guides everything. And one day, this elf gets pregnant, which is like a what's going on here? And she ends up giving birth to this boy. And part of the elfin culture is every few like there's this thing called the harvest, where who knows how much time when you're immortal, but it's this periodic thing where male members of the race get elected to be sacrificed to the gods and renewed. And the child who was born was suddenly picked to be on this lottery by the druids or by their religious order. And she's like, no, like this kid didn't even have a chance to live. He's still a baby. Like, this is my kid. I don't want that to happen. And then that's when she realized that the paradise, the utopia she lived in, was all false. It was an invisible cage. And those benevolent custodial gods that were, you know, watching over them turned out to be a little less benevolent and wants to destroy them.
So she says, you dirty knife ears, right?
Well, she's the dirty knife ear, but yeah, it's based loosely off of the story of the two a day, and there are these gigantic titanic gods, so to speak, that walk among their people, called the Fovera or the Fomorians, and yeah, they don't take too kindly to people defying their orders, and yeah, we start to learn in the first book that their entire past, everything they thought they've been. Everything they've been told is a lie. Like even their origin of creation and everything. And they start learning their true origins, and they find out that they're not so much children of the gods and protected by them. They're actually slaves that are kept in paddocks or in stalls to be consumed.
Wait, I thought you said.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really see the problem with these gods you're talking about.
I thought you said this was fantasy, Chris.
Yeah, this is a documentary. Yeah, all the useless.
By the way, I am curious. So I know for a fact you were on John A. Douglas's channel there for an interview. How did it feel talking about elves in front of like the biggest orc fan I can think of?
Well, I don't know. He doesn't seem to, or he never.
To be fair, Otter, I mean, it's not like he's the biggest dwarf fan, right?
Okay, now that's a crime against humanity, or dwarfdom, I should say.
Yeah.
well, in the Infinitale universe, there are no orcs. The closest there can be are these things, are goblins essentially, and they're actually a form of elf. They're just the unfortunate kind of mishap of what happens when magic gets involved.
Chris. Who's going to sell the oranges and the strawberries?
Who is going to clean your toilet, Mr. Trump?
All right. Let's have a look at that trailer one more time.
Come on, that's a good one. So what other races do you got?
Well, we see in the trailer here, we see one of the Carnudi, or the what
knowledge is like a
what
seed.
the elves call fawn.
When sown in fertile minds, it opens doors
Are
to
you
new
pulling a lot from
possibilities.
Irish and Celtic and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, I
Truth,
grabbed as much as I could
once
from everything.
buried by the ages, is again revealed.
See, there are the Carnudi.
the unimaginable becomes demystified. New wonder.
Oh. Nani?
I have high-speed internet. It's not and this is all preloaded as well. What are you doing to me, YouTube?
Omae wa mou shinderu.
Yeah, どうしたいんだ?
What? It's all preloaded already, and it's spinning.
Anyways, we got Boomer Frederic over here.
Listen, I blame either YouTube or.
Go ahead. Take your medicine. I know it's past your bedtime.
Don't take medicine. What are you?
Well, if you want, you can see the trailer from the first campaign as well, and it leads into this into the continuation here in the second campaign.
Oh yeah, how to get to the first campaign here? Oops.
So if you go to InfinitaleChronicles.com and then you go to books, you'll see the trailer.
Infinitale.
See, I need to be like the Starship Troopers. The only good elf is a dead elf.
Jesus.
Damn, my computer's gone totally slow. That's what's going on.
Uh-oh.
Let me close everything in Discord. And I don't have I don't have a lot running. I need a new computer.
Uh-oh.
Just like you threw out your back, your computer's gone out its back.
I gotta ask though, Chris, what is your favorite depiction of elves outside of your own IP, of course?
Well, I like Wendy and Richard Peeney's Elf Quest.
Yeah.
Interesting. And I've been recently, multiple people now have been basically telling me, hey, you should be reading Poison Elves. I have not yet read that yet, but it sounds pretty badass. So that'll be my next on my reading list, and then I can determine whether or not that'll dethrone the Elf Quest elves.
You know what my favorite is, Otter?
Dead elves?
No, from the Mel Gibson Santa Claus movie.
Oh man, they're on crack. Those are Christmas elves. Oh man, that's a funny movie, man. That's my favorite Christmas movie.
These aren't strictly elves speaking, but how the fairies and fae are depicted in legend, I always thought was pretty.
Oh yeah,
it was unique. It's not my favorite, but I'm like, I've never seen anybody depict elves, at least in like more kind of like mainstream entertainment, quite like this.
What were they, man? Guys?
So it's like they're childlike. They're kind of like enchanting and ethereal, but they're also just a little terrifying.
Yeah, they get that intense stare.
But like you basically have like they assume the body of like a 12-year-old child, but they speak like they're 50.
Yeah, it's like baby. What was it, baby? That was that from Roger Rabbit. See, my problem is I got a 50-year-old lust and a 3-year-old dinky.
Okay. I forgot the jokes in that fucking movie.
That's such a good movie.
It's a great movie.
Technically, the one from Berserk, they count because they are elves in that one. Are called elves.
They are elves.
Even though I think they're just fairies or pixies.
Well, did you remember Hellboy, the second one there?
Yes.
Yeah, the little one.
That had some badass elves in there.
You know what really fucked me up with that?
What's that?
So you remember, or have you ever watched Harry Potter?
Oh yeah. In
the second one, Chamber of Secrets.
Mm-hmm.
When he fucking like lets loose all the fucking pixies as well from that. and I'm assuming they were pulling from the actual like sources, what they look like.
Mm-hmm.
But all I could think of when I was watching that scene was also the Hellboy one from the second or when I watched the second Hellboy.
The Tooth Fairies.
Remembering that scene being like, so this is what will actually happen.
So you want to know what the...
I'm going to pop out and come back in a second.
So you want to know, especially with the elf nobility in Hellboy 2, I'm almost convinced straight up that either Del Toro or Mike Mignola, if he worked on it, he may have. I'm not entirely
I don't think
sure.
he worked on it at all.
Well, I'm almost convinced Guillermo del Toro was inspired to some extent by Elric, because it feels a lot like Elric, Melniboné, and Cimmeril.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, the elves in this go through a lot of changes. I wanted to try to tell an origin story. So we always kind of get our glimpses of the elves kind of in progress. You know, like it's kind of like they've already been existing. They are an ancient race, and they're already ancient when they meet these other races. And this is kind of more of a, well, how did they get to that point? So
I also what was it? This is in Dragon Age and Witcher. Humans are so stupid, barbaric, and everything else. They're so uncivilized, and I'm like, okay, but you like got your ass kicked by them.
Oh, it gets worse whenever you get into the books. Like, get a load of this. This is the story where Geralt's supposed to meet Ciri, by the way. He literally stumbles across a grove of dryads that's like the last great kingdom. And this is how they sustain themselves. First of all, they got fucked over by the humans, not because humans bad necessarily, but because they're imbeciles. Their strategy is stupid. What's worse is they take like human children and like abduct them and make them dryad children to reproduce. And it's like they become dryads, and it's like they even forget themselves. Then you have this bitch of a dryad queen lecturing Geralt on how humans are the immoral ones. I'm like, and he's like, but wait a second, your borders are expanding over the centuries. She's like, well, we don't see that the same way you humans do. I'm like, bitch, please.
This is why my favorite elves are the Keebler elves.
That like I kind of got a little contemptuous with elves and like the Fae and the previous stories. They were okay. It was that point onward where I'm like, okay, fuck this faction. The humans can win for all I care.
Dude, that's what KOTOR and Star Wars Republic Commando made me hate Wookiees. Like, I hate Wookiees. Fuck them. I hope they all get. Like, I enjoyed that they get enslaved by the Empire. I think it's
wow.
The fucking companions in those games are such assholes.
My other favorite elves are Vulcans.
Turns out Chewbacca is the exception, not the rule.
Yeah. Man. Well, yeah, I mean that's all Vulcans and Romulans are, just basically high elves and dark elves, or light elves and dark elves.
Yeah, even after they supposedly purge themselves of emotions, they're still arrogant as all hell.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the other thing that I find weird is that it's kind of like, you know how like ever since I want to say it was Warcraft. It could have been something else, but like we now associate dwarves with Scottish accents for some reason.
Oh, aye.
And it's like dwarves aren't a Scottish invention. They're
Norse.
Yeah, they should sound like they're from Sweden. You know, like it sounds really weird.
But it doesn't sound cool. That's why
they need to sound like the regular Nord from Skyrim.
That's right.
Hello,
oh traveler. You should share some mead with me.
but like
Skyrim was.
But so should a lot of the elves, because a lot of the elf lore also comes from Germanic folklore.
Well, for example, the elves in my story have a very Irish or Welsh kind of flavor to them. You know, like they'll randomly use Gaelic words, kind of as a surrogate, but like. There's so many different like when you say Celtic, like Celtic spanned most of Western Europe. Like it's weird how big the Celt, like I would say it was an empire, but it wasn't. You know, it was just these disparate tribes, but they all had similar mythology. They all had similar like folklore, governance style. Yeah, it's weird, but yeah, like for some reason though, we always get this trope where the dwarves are Scottish and the elves are these like dry, haughty, arrogant, slow-speaking, just looking down their nose at everybody, and it's like that's not what elves should not be lawful. They like elves are, or at least again, like going from what I derived from the folklore that I looked through, elves are the embodiment of change and chaos. They are mischief. They are dangerous.
Have you ever read by chance? Have you ever read by chance The King of Elfland's Daughter by Lord Dunsany?
No. Does it explore that, like the whole?
Yeah. So there's a lot of modern fiction that actually kind of derives from it, and it was one of the inspirations for how elves are depicted in like D&D and in more modern context before Tolkien. But it's like the idea is that I forget the exact setup, but it explores the idea where it's like a man from the fields we know, in quotes, which is our world, is like going to kind of like explore or even kind of like become friends with the elves. And I forget. I think it's literally just called Elfland, but it's treated like that, where it's like as soon as he crosses over, time works differently, and the story explores the idea of him like becoming betrothed to their princess, all the while literal ages are passing in his world. Like he comes back and his father is dead.
Yeah, it's like Rip Van Winkle, goes to sleep, watches the elves bowling, and then comes back to the main world basically, and like 50 years passed or whatever.
Yeah,
man. Yeah. That
Ari Salvador did something similar where his main character Gary passed through a kind of a portal into an alternate realm of the same world. But he was there for months, but he came back and it was only a few hours in his home world.
So it's like a reverse.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a good comparison I can think of with King of Elfland's Daughter. If you've ever watched or read Stardust, Neil Gaiman was directly inspired by that book.
Oh wow. Yeah, I remember Stardust. Dude, when I was building my stuff, I looked at like a lot of weird, like it was weird because this was like before the age of Google, so I was at the mercy of whatever we had physically available in the library.
I feel that.
Yeah, I plumbed the depths of like the forbidden room. They had this one room where like you had to use a key and only adults were allowed in there and all that stuff. And it's not like a booby like the adult section at a video store. I went in there and there were books that were really old. Like
wait, how did you access the inaccessible spot there, Chris?
I got connections, but
lockpick the.
You found a key.
I got a lock picking of 100.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet he seduced that librarian, and then he put his hand down and picked her key.
Damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, she seduced me, but no, I was way too young for that. But I went in there, and there were books there. You had to wear gloves to touch. Like these were books that were from Europe that were not written in English. Or when they were written in English, the pages were so yellow and like it was intimidating when you grab an old book and you're like, open slowly.
And you hear it cracking.
Yeah. There's like debris of like the leather that's like starting to chip away like lead paint chips.
That is like the most disconcerting feeling whenever it's like you're taking an old book and you can just hear those bindings like creaking and cracking. Yep. I'm like, oh, should I do this?
Yeah. Well, I did that, and we did like again like the Kalevala there with Vein Morning, and then the Mabinogi with what was it? What the hell was his name? It meant like from the forest or whatever, but I hate it when my brain farts like that. But I guess that comes with age. And then we had stay a while and listen. And then we had what was it? Some of the old Irish books, the ones that were like kind of the pre-Christian stuff, like the Book of Kells, or what was that one book? I can't remember what it was, but it was before pages were formalized in like linear script. Like medieval manuscripts were written in things called rota or rote, which are wheels. So like stories and book pages were like big circles. Like it looked like crop circles you were reading. And that was pretty cool to kind of glean some of the, like, because there were notes and stuff from people that clearly were able to translate that I couldn't. But I'm like, okay, that's chicken scratch to me, but I can read the notes and it's like, oh, okay, that's what they're saying here. And it was freaking badass.
So you're gonna have to make up a bunch of fantasy wine.
Yeah, well, when I studied the magic system for my game, I looked up Hermeticism, I looked up Gnosticism, Jewish Kabbalah, like all that stuff, and like unlike in Dungeons and Dragons, where magic is just more of a reliable technology, you know, you're like your +2 toothbrush of plaque fighting. You know, like magic in this world is really scary. It's a dangerous art. The spells were written down by possibly mad, insane people that survived experiments. So you don't even know if the spells are correct.
I love the idea that the inspiration for how magic is seen as D&D, and by extension, how a lot of magic systems are done today, comes from a science fiction book of all things.
Oh,
like if you're aware of the Dying Earth saga by Jack Vance, that was kind of like one of the biggest inspirations for how Gary Gygax handled magic.
Oh, wow.
The idea was like the whole series was a blend of sci-fi and fantasy. It was like at its heart, these are fantasy stories, but it's more than implied. This is like our world, but so far in the future, so many types of technologies have risen and fallen that's so much more advanced. Like even spell casting is implied that it's technology we just forgot. So that's the idea.
Yeah, well, if you've ever played Phantasy Star 2, which is an amazing game, I can't believe the story was as like well written as it was, but it talks about a future in which technology, where AI basically turns into this custodian that takes over the entire planet. And the people who are magic users, they use it. It's called techniques instead of magic. And it's basically nanoparticles that coalesce, and you're basically programming all of the nanoparticles in the air that are created by the AI. So you're manifesting things from the AI to make the magic.
It's a very similar concept in Dying Earth, actually. The idea is like you read a spell, and it's like the spell itself has like, it's like a form of technology that enters someone's mind, and once they speak it, it exits that person's mind.
Nice. Well, so the magic system in Infinitale it's kind of this concept of there was this great crystal called the Zohir, and when it exploded, it basically became creation. You know, it existed in a void of oblivion, and everything in creation is some fragment of the Zohir. So everything in existence is linked relatively to one another. And there was this ancient syntax, this ancient language from a long time ago, combined with hand gestures and runes that people have recorded, that allow people to impose their own will over other aspects of this essence of Zohir, to reach into the clay of creation and make their own shapes out of it. And if you mess up that syntax, you know, it's doing what you're telling it. It's like programming, you know, you could get an error, you could botch that thing. And we see kind of in one of the comics what happens when you severely botch a powerful spell.
Nice.
So
do you get the equivalent of like an exception raised or a seg fault or something like that?
Invalid page fault. Yeah, you're going to hell.
I cast error 404.
Yeah, and
I didn't ask how big the room was. I just said fireball.
Yeah, well, when I was, you know, refining the system, like it uses a magic point system instead of like Dungeons and Dragons, where it's like you can do X number of level 1 spells and, you know, Y number of level 3 spells, you know, and all that stuff. The spell system is based on the concept of elements and catalysts, and your catalysts are kind of they're the cantrips, they're the verbs, and the elements are the nouns. And you're actually composing a sentence or like a syntax written out in these things called stanzas, where you're basically, the bigger the spell, obviously the longer it's going to take to cast. So you're going to need people to protect you while you're casting some of the bigger stuff. And mana or Whis or essence or whatever it's called that you're using to power these spells, you know, you're imposing your own will to get these things out. And sometimes like you don't want to like drain yourself of your own essence. So if you have your magic points reach 0, that's a bad thing, because it's not going to recharge naturally. You need like alchemical intervention at that point. But we've had players like, yeah, get some Alex Jones vitality supplements. No,
that's when you add the microtransactions, Chris.
Yeah, a little window pops up. But yeah, so you know, there are these things where you can basically draw mana or essence from other objects. And that's why you see a lot of these spellcasters carrying around all these random props, because the props are associated with the elements. And those elements, if they're part of your spell, for example, if you're a pyromancer, if you're predominantly casting spells that revolve around fire, you're walking around with like a lit torch or a candle or a lantern or something.
Oh, I already got the smut novel in your world ready.
Uh-oh.
No, honey, I swear she was just trying to draw the mana
Okay,
out of me.
okay, Billy, tell him about the cumsicles.
Okay.
That's how you know it's a good story.
Okay. So there's this one book. I won't mention it by name. Shadow of the Conqueror. It has a he really likes what's his name, Otter? Brandon Sanderson, Hard Magic Systems.
Yeah.
However, the magic system in this book is stupid because you can just do anything because you're stacking bonds. And then you can stack anything to the point where he can stack his memory so he can vividly remember something, right? So there's no real limitations on this shit.
It's simultaneously overcomplicated, but it's not restrictive enough.
Yeah. So immediately when I thought of it, I went, so technically cumsicles are realistic possible because he can stack his durability of his penis, right? And then he can harden the substance of the cum and then also stack the velocity of it to make a cum.
He blew out her backside, literally.
Yeah. And I'm like, so that's coming from the Shadow Conquerors. Like sometimes when you do hard magic systems, like sometimes you gotta like set limitations, dude, because like theoretically that works in his system. Like if you can make yourself fast, fly, you can. Here's the thing: he can change the density of his body.
Yes. I'm about to spoil the final twist of what he can do with his powers in the book. If you guys want me to stop, I can.
Nope. Does it involve cumsicles?
No, unfortunately, it doesn't. He is able to stack his bonds into the speed at which he thinks. That's how he wins the final fight.
So it's like the end of Lucy or whatever, that movie where with Scarlett Johansson turns into a computer.
About that movie.
Oh yeah, she's all.
No, that was a better ending. I'm sorry to say.
I think his magic system would have been at least a bit better if he clearly defined what he could and could not stack points into.
What he's showing us, it means it's infinite, which means my cumsicle theory fucking works. It's not a theory.
It does work. That is the thing.
Either way, the whole reason I come up with the cumsicle is because it's actually a criticism of his magic system and thing in the story. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is like magic is a really tough thing to balance. There always has to be, it's like the Full Metal Alchemist, the law of equivalent exchange.
I'm of the opinion that the simpler it is, the better it usually is.
Well, you can have it be more complex, just as long as you
it can work that
put
way.
in restrictions, so I can't come up with the cumsicle.
Well, we had players like one of the magi. He was at such a high enough level, he was actually creating his own spells, literally spellcraft.
Okay.
And one of the spells he created was called Curse of Verbal Feculation. And basically it was his spin on the silence spell from like Dungeons and Dragons, where every time the character spoke, he was literally talking shit, and like he'd open his mouth and like a turd would fly out, and he couldn't talk, so he was like muted by his own turds.
Amazing.
He's got in our Castle and Crusades, Otter. We were going to fight a water elemental, and the one character, Nikolai, was his character, Cyanistra. She drank a levitate potion because two of us had water walking rings. She didn't.
Oh.
So he drank the levitate spell potion, and Otter was like, "Oh yeah, he just like goes up and down, like you can't like it's not actually like flying or anything."
That is how the spell works. You can't move laterally through levitation. It's only through like the actual how high you are. Like that's the only controlling factor.
Should have carried a battery powered fan.
Yeah, so I basically took a string, tied it to my character to walk across the compound.
Walking a balloon.
Yeah. Oh, that reminds me. Frederic, would you like to tell us how the Gungan one-shot went?
So, to put this plainly to you, Chris, as a DM, this was probably not my finest hour.
Uh-oh.
Well, I mean, the premise was like, the whole premise was kind of an expected disaster. Like, we all hoping to create this an abomination of a tabletop game, if you think about it, because we're playing a squad of Gungans.
Oh, and we didn't even care when we rolled the characters. It was just 3d6. Whatever the fuck you got is what you got.
Yeah.
Like, we weren't being lenient on it, and the character creation was like, it happens, it happens.
And
rolled terribly. And I did. I rolled like a 4 on one of them.
Oh.
And the premise was really good. Like, we had to find this animal that, well, we didn't know was an animal at first.
We had to find a data chip from a clone of Jar Jar.
Well, it was no, it was not a data chip. It was a capsule.
Or a capsule, yeah.
It was what it called.
It's a suppository.
So, Chris, are you familiar with like any of the expanded universe lore of Star Wars?
Yeah, I read some of the books.
Yeah, so there's this creature in the Heir of the Empire trilogy called Isalamiri that can block out the Force. That's what they were trying to retrieve.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was playing like an operative, like Han Solo Gungan Western dude. Frederick was playing like a Sith Gungan. James was playing I think a cannibal fat with robot arms.
Gungan who liked to harvest organs.
Yeah.
He liked to harvest
He was
organs.
preparing to cook us in our sleep or something.
Yeah. So basically, we done the whole thing at the beginning of the session. We did like shopping where they were getting a ship, and I was like buying all kinds of grenades. Shit.
You all were going all out on it too. It was like an hour and a half of just shopping. I was like, oh, okay.
So we
You had
finally
to get a
the
good deal
ship.
on the ship, okay?
Yeah, they finally got a good deal. It was 25,000, 20,000 credits, whatever for it.
And I made one of them sick when I flew the ship out of there.
Yeah, he rolled the piloting skill. He rolled a 6.
It's gonna be a bumpy ride.
So we finally get to the place, and before that, when we were asking the totally not Jar Jar Binks, we didn't even ask him what planet we were supposed to go to. We finally got into the ship. We were like, oh yeah, we forgot.
I realized it like about midway through their shopping trip. I was like, wait, they never asked Jar Jar like which planet they're going to.
So we all boarded the ship.
So they got into the ship and they're like, hang on, guys, where are we going to?
Yeah, we boarded the ship. I'm the pilot, and I said, do we know what planet we're going to? And we all just sat there silent.
We were like, all right, we got to call Jar Jar on the phone.
It's like, why did you guys get in the ship? It was supposed to be here.
Keep in mind.
I was having so much fun, like describing how Jar Jar relayed that information. It was like that sort of like Star Wars Force moment where you have that kind of like dramatic like music playing where it's like Luke looking out at the sunset. Only it's just like Fredric's like Gungan character meditating, and he hears Jar Jar's voice in the back of his head telling him which planet to go to.
You should go to Dagobah.
Oh yeah, so Chris, the entire session in character, we all had to talk like Jar Jar.
Oh no!
So we're all going.
Not
Lisa,
alone.
Lisa.
I broke out the alcohol for this session. All
Yeah,
right.
that was a mandatory supplement.
So I got a lap dance from a Rhodian.
The thing is, like, you were like, all right, time for me to roll a con save. I'm like, okay. And I was like, Billy, if you failed that roll, Rasta Binks would have shot first.
Oh, that's why. That's why I rolled it immediately. I was like, oh no, I'm gonna see if my character lasted or not. For this Rhodian fucking Greedo race. Anyways, we got to the planet, right? And Otter was like, oh, we scanned the planet, and the planet had like an Imperial base, right? And then like the crashed ship we were looking for.
Mm-hmm.
We decided to land at the crashed ship because, you know, maybe we search it and there's something there. We get out. Now, Otter was like, when we get to the ship, Otter was like, oh, there's like these pterodactyl creatures. And I thought there was only going to be like 2 or 3, right? So I was like, oh, I'm just going to shoot it.
It was before I fully described them. Billy's like, I'm shooting them. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay.
never mind that they're not a threat. They're part of the background description. You know?
You just killed the background set.
So here's the thing. Otter, this is where Otter fucked up.
Oh yeah, it's
First
not
of all-
you that fucked up, right, Billy?
I like
This
rolling
was
for the number of enemies, all right?
Yeah, this was Otter.
Wait, what is it?
So,
800. What's going on?
first thing-
Whoa!
We were using because we didn't really care because it was just a one shot, so we were using the shitty 5e version.
Mhm.
So Otter was we've been playing me, Frequency, and then some other people have been playing Castle and Crusade for like over a year or something, under a year. So he's used to that. So he just rolls for the enemies, and it's 6 plus a big boss one of these.
Well, specifically, it was like 6 challenge level 1/8s and then 1 CR1.
Yeah, they had multi attack, and their damage was like a D4 plus 2, right?
Each.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until it actually came to combat. I'm like, oh, these guys actually hit hard.
Yeah.
Plus, they had like a plus 4 because I forgot it's 5e, so get all the bonus.
I
So either
forgot
way-
about damage bonuses too, where it's just like a flat number bonus to damage. I'm like, oh.
So I immediately get taken out by 2 of the little tiny ones because I only have 9 health because we're level 1. And then everyone starts falling
Yes.
pretty quick.
I got one-shotted before I even got to my initiative count.
Oh, and my damage only did
Jenkins.
1 damage on that fucking bird as well.
Yeah, just to add insult to injury.
He gave him a paper cut.
We all went down first combat on this planet, birds.
The funny thing is that James's character, James's character was trying to it was your character who was trying to go for like the thermal detonator at the last.
Oh
moment.
yeah, I was going kamikaze. I'm like,
Yeah,
I'm done.
The thing is, you failed, and it's like James is like, all right, I'm gonna have my medical droid try and do it for me. I'm gonna call out to him.
Well,
I just describe it like the medical droid's like, why certainly, sir. He picks it up and just taps the button, and just everything goes like sky high immediately.
Oh well, let me put it like this. My thermal detonator that I bought, we blew that up. Technically, 10 of my frag grenades on me also blew up, plus my 5 poison grenades, 5 ion grenades, and another 5 grenades of something.
Chain reaction.
Yeah,
They didn't even get to the twist in the adventure.
No.
Jar Jar was both their quest giver and the Sith Lord villain as part of the game.
Yeah, what was your character's name again, Billy? Crater Binks?
The who?
Rasta.
Yeah, Rasta.
More like Crater.
So in the expanded universe, would this be like in one of those anthology books, like Tales from Tales from the Short Bus, and it's like 1 page? Like here's this 1-page story.
I'm gonna be honest with you. When it happened, I died laughing for about like 5 minutes. Like I couldn't breathe.
Yeah, we spent 3 hours of building up for this trip, and then just boom.
However,
it was like the funniest accident.
Anticlimactic, to say the least.
That was like the perfect fucking ending or thing to happen in the session ever for a stupid one-shot B team or C team, squad.
But believe it or not, Chris, I consider myself to be a pretty forgiving DM. This was the exception.
There's no mercy.
Gungans must die.
And it's about that time of the show where we head into the closing period called Shield Time.
Hit it!
fucking shit.
Oh, there they are. Look at these gorgeous sons of bitches.
I'm not gonna lie, the X-Force actually correlates pretty well to our Gungan story. That's exactly what happened to us.
Yeah.
How so?
A little too well.
Well, yeah, no, in that way, yeah. All right, I will start with our guest. So at the end, you can, Chris, if you just want to reiterate where can people find Infinitale Chronicles, and just give us, the last shill of the show.
Sure. Yeah, so Infinitale Chronicles, you can find me on InfinitaleChronicles.com. You can catch me on X at Infinitale Comic. All the information you need about the current campaign can be found on the Infinitale Chronicles website under the crowdfunding section. And yeah, man, we're doing pretty well on that campaign. So hopefully we can unlock that third and final stretch goal. And thanks for having me, guys. This was a blast.
Oh, it's a pleasure, man. I'm definitely going to pick one of the tiers. I'm going to have to go through it. I want one with the cards. Like, I'm too much of a card fanatic, and those box sets look mighty. I'm going to have to take my. And there's 3 freaking versions. Like, fuck you, Chris.
James is going to be so upset when I tell him. I was like, oh, we had one of the. Damn, I already forgot the name of the game.
Defiance.
Defiance.
Yeah.
Dev's on here.
Yeah, it had to be there. Had to be there, James.
Just the one day. The one day.
You never know, man. You never know these things. It's a surprise. I didn't even know you were a game developer, Chris. So that was a pleasant discovery here.
Cool.
And Otter, where can people find you if they're trying to track you down?
Well, if you're trying to track down the water weasel, you can find me on X usually. I've been a little quiet on X this last week or two. I've actually been finishing up the formatting on my book. I'm actually very nearly done with that. So be on the lookout for that here in the next month. I've also got the trailer that's for the most part done. So yeah, be on the lookout for book 2 of Steel and Stormbright. I am calling it The Shadow of Twin Moons. If you're in the mood for some cloak and dagger fantasy in the vein of swords and sorcery, a bit of a darker take on the Steel and Stormbright series compared to the first book, I think you'll really like this one. On top of that, you can find my first book on Barnes & Noble, Amazon, all the big retailers, you know the drill by now. And yeah, that's pretty much all for the Water Weasel.
Nice. Wrangler from Frequency Studios.
Yeah, you can find my books on Amazon, Haley Star Bad Kitty, and Bad Kitty Haley's World, Magic Field Sci-Fi Adventures. And you can also find me over on Substack under Frequency Studios, where you'll find these two in a follow-up adventure that takes place 6 months after the second book. You can also find me on YouTube, do a channel search for @Wrangler212, and I should pop right up. And also follow me on all those social medias, X Truth, Blue Sky, Minds, all under Frequency Studios.
Yeah. And BillyBobSac?
Nothing.
See, I knew you would say that, so I put your contact in the description. So there you go. See, try not to shell your own stuff, but we'll.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to show right now. So
yeah, you're not as active, but we've got a great group of people here, Chris.
But our country is blessed to have the extraordinary talent, energy, and genius represented in this room. It really is great genius. Not all of you, but most of you. Many of you.
I still want to hear him read Bilbo's farewell speech to the Shire.
You can AI that. I'm sure you can AI that.
Yeah.
Like, he's got to be one of the most sampled people out there as well.
If you can AI like all of the big kind of like presidents and like big influencers like in the political sphere playing a game of D&D, I'm sure you can do that.
100%.
Surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if it's already been done.
It's already have been done. Those videos are stretching back for like 3 years now.
At least.
Well, he's going to be talking about his 111st term.
Yeah.
We're going to have AI Trump for 100,000 years. That's what's coming, folks. Get ready for it. All right, that's it for our show tonight. Thanks for watching all the way to the end. Thanks for tuning in. Always a pleasure. Thanks for being here, Chris. It was a blast. Great conversation.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Talk. And I'm glad to get to know you more now.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So good night, everybody.
Night.
The sun has gone to bed, and so must I. So long, farewell. Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye, goodbye, goodbye.
Hello, Bitcoiners. Thank you very much. Hello. It's good to be with you. It's good to be with you.